MSU basketball, ESPN game day coming East Lansing for the Maryland game next week.
Because
Who the hell cares?
isn't Maryland #1 in the Big Ten though? I believe.
I have not watched a college basketball game in almost 3 years,
Well,
so
it,
I don't know
it's getting
anything about it.
interesting
Because
because it's leading up to March Madness.
I completely forgot about that even existing because it's almost all-star break. I am an NBA fan. I'm not that big of a basketball fan because the Pistons suck.
It makes when the Pistons were good,
Oh, when the Pistons were good, it was
it was
great.
like I was in love with them.
But I am a fair weather fan.
I'm fair weather.
At B Dubs yesterday, I was watching the Red Wings and it hurt my heart because
It's tragic.
I'm a hockey player. I actually came up playing hockey, and we
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Go quiet for just a second.
suck now.
And
Say go
I've
quiet.
been looking at the.
Go quiet for a second. Let me snap this. Podcast 3. Ready. Action. All right, we're live.
Yeah, the Red Wings suck now. They were getting outshot 43 to 12 when I was looking at it, and my heart died a little bit because even like up to my first couple years of college, the Red Wings were dope. The Pistons were still good. It was a good time to be able to drink for the first time in your life.
Yeah, and right now
Legally.
Detroit sports is at the all-time low of.
We're at Great Lakes Crossings, and I seen a shirt that said, "Make Detroit sports great again."
Yeah, and every single owner should consider selling the team to somebody
Every one of them.
who
Every
cares
one of
about winning. It does, like Ford is so family friendly and they want to please everybody because, like, with their vehicles, we want to keep you happy, so you keep buying our vehicles. Well, that's not how the NFL works. Like, you can't be loyal to somebody who did good for us before, and that's been our problem. But
Yeah, the Fours have been terrible with loyalty. Our two greatest players of all time, Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson. And they're both on the record saying that the Lions, not when they retired, not only did they not go to another team, but the Lions came back for the money both times.
yeah,
Sued their greatest players.
well, and like, look at Tony Romo. They owed him 12 million, or where he would have to pay back 12 million, and they said, "Oh no, keep the money. You did
Keep
this."
the money, Tony.
Yeah,
Thanks for.
but the Lions are like, "Hey, you know that 1 million? I'm gonna need that.
I'm gonna need that back.
You got Forrest in your headphones now?
Hello, am
Yep,
I here?
I do.
Yeah, and it's sad to say, but I can almost see Matt Stafford doing the same thing. I mean, he's been.
Oh, we should trade him.
Yeah, I would love for him to, but this is that loyalty thing where Martha. This is what Martha would say. I love Matt Stafford.
That's
And
exactly what she would say. And then we'd be.
I love Matt Stafford. He's a great dude. I love him so much. I have his jerseys. I actually have a signed picture. Like,
Really?
yeah,
I had to grow into Matt Stafford. I'm a
I was
Cornhusker
scared.
fan, but I do like some of the SEC teams. Georgia is a family team,
Mm-hmm.
and I really took to Georgia when I was a little bit younger, especially when we used to go visit Georgia and visit family members. And I remember when he was on the same team as No Sean Moreno, and that was when like Georgia was absolutely super stacked. And
No Sean Moreno won me a fantasy football
yeah,
championship.
yeah.
At first year I played, I picked him up. It was my first waiver wire pick. Best of all time.
Best of all time was like
I love No Sean
15
Moreno.
touchdowns or something like that right off the waiver wire. That shit was so dope.
I was in love.
But Matt Stafford was on teams with him where they were just completely stacked. They didn't win anything. He's not going to win anything. Listen, let's be honest. I've already divorced myself away from the Detroit Lions. I used to work at Ford Field.
Yeah,
Safe Security Squad, what up? Uh, that's how I have a lot. That's where a lot of my Detroit party scene came from, was driving down to Detroit on a Saturday afternoon, kicking it down, casino, kicking it in
love
parties
Detroit.
down in Ferndale, Royal Oak, everywhere surrounding areas, and then hitting up the Lions game, being pretty much still drunk from the night before, and all I got to do is stand and make sure people don't start tripping.
Yeah,
And I
and
see you got a couple of pictures of like you, your brothers, your dad. You guys all go to the game together.
Yep.
That's real cool. How many games you got? You guys done that a lot then?
No, we have season tickets. We have like five tickets a year, and I can't give them away quick enough.
yeah, ever since, I mean, I'm a diehard Lions guy. I have like 25 Lions hats, and they're all different. Like I I got puffy vest, diehard, but I am not sold on Bob Quinn or Matt Patricia. The last 2 years, so 2 years ago, I was pumped. Matt Patricia, I'm like, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
The
I was
dude's been to
excited.
Super Bowls,
I wasn't.
and like immediately I noticed, like
I thought he was
everyone
like
was,
the sleeper. You know what I mean? I thought he was the sleeper dude.
yeah,
I thought he was like the quiet, like, oh, maybe he's like part of the brains or something. He's
That's what they sold me.
yeah,
They fired my boy Jim Caldwell. Yes,
yeah.
the most
Jim
winningest
The
Caldwell.
most
coach.
winningest?
Jim Caldwell, 9-7. 9-7 was getting us places.
That's when
I don't
being
want.
the
I don't
Lions
even want to
fan,
talk
I had
about
a
it, man.
lot
That
more hope, but I checked out, and
not
and then
the
they got
Lions
rid of
took hope
Tate.
from me. I no longer hope for things.
No, it's been a rough life. That's why
Is it
being in fantasy
cold?
football
Yeah,
has changed my life, because I
like
can
let's
like
think of
every team.
let's think of some things that it's like being a fucking Lions fan, like like
Getting kicked in the shin,
or like when you first
Every day.
when you
every
first find
day.
out that Santa's fake.
Yeah,
That's like
that's
being a
like, hey,
Lions fan.
you would be a perfect candidate to be a Lions fan.
And it's moments. It's not a continuous feeling. It's a and let down and let down and let down.
And this year's draft, they're going to let us
Let you
down
down.
because it should fall for a dream scenario, but we're gonna be like, this guy was highest on our board, and we feel like he's a tough competitor and he's gonna fit our scheme.
Yes, fitting scheme. The Lions do the. You know what? I'm not even gonna start this because my blood pressure is gonna go high. Like I actually have a doctor's note telling me that I can no longer enjoy the Detroit Lions
Don't even talk about them.
because it really does, it hurts. I get so upset.
Well, and it's every being a fan of, like me being a homer. I was raised, it's Detroit everything,
Hmm.
and Michigan Wolverines, and like I've never changed. And you know what? It's been a rough road, but lately with the Tigers losing like a record amount of games, being just the biggest garbage, going from having like a team that was competitive for years
Didn't
in a
they say
row.
like the whole team just like won the World Series or whatever on like another team, right?
Oh yeah,
Pretty much.
and
Pretty much.
the last 3 years, the three best pitchers are former Tigers. That Purcello, Verlander,
That's why
Price,
getting the hell
Max
out of Detroit,
Scherzer.
getting the hell out of Detroit is now a blessing. Unless you're Andre Drummond and they trade you to the Cavs.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, they traded
That's
him
So
for a
right.
ham
they
That's
traded,
right.
sandwich.
but see, we knew this. They traded him to Ohio. Sorry, Ohio. No shouts out.
Yeah.
0 stars. Highly do not recommend.
And
If you have to go to
watch your
Ohio,
nightlife because Andre Drummond's a DJ. He's coming for your
oh
gig.
Lord,
Oh, I heard you can follow his playlist on Spotify. I've never checked it out, but
I'm probably gonna check it out. I feel bad. I feel bad for him. He got a lesson this week on the sports
loyalty.
business being a business. That's why I say no loyalty for your team. I no longer have to be loyal to the Detroit Lions because it's bad for your health. It's an abusive relationship. It really is.
It's terrible. And after game one last year, when they were playing the Cardinals, they were up 21 points, making plays, and I was like, man, I like what I see.
It got you again.
And then all of a sudden, just terrible play, terrible play. So Lions of a move, like they're
So Lions
they're
of a
fourth
move.
and 10, and we commit a penalty, first down, they score a touchdown. Now momentum's in their court. I literally ripped my jersey off and threw it, and my wife's like, "What's going on? Not again!" And I'm like, "I am checking out. I'm done." And it helped me because I started to enjoy football again. Like, I'm gonna watch this game over here because I got 5 fantasy football teams. I probably got 5 guys playing in that game.
Yes,
Yep.
fantasy football
That
had to
is
save
cool.
it
That
because
gives
Oh,
you
go ahead.
give you some love for it because like you say, it's a brutal beatdown being any kind of Detroit fan, you know. So your best team's always getting pounded in the ground, you know. And then what it the fantasy thing is pretty much a big deal on a lot of levels, right? There's a lot of gambling behind it too, right?
Yeah, it just matters like how you set your league up.
What's the new sports gambling thing that's like legit now?
Well, I think it's kind of like everything else. They got to wait till they figure out how they're gonna how
Yeah, because
their scheme's gonna work, how they're gonna tax it, and how
What
It-
was the rule before? What changed? I didn't pick up.
they-
so recently they legalized sports gambling pretty much openly.
Really?
yeah,
So
like
now
soon you
can,
could probably go right down to like 7-Eleven and be like, I want to put 100 on the Patriots to
Really?
go to the Super Bowl next year, and then like they'll send you like, because that will go to Vegas, and then it'll come. That's how I would imagine it.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way of
the
putting it.
where it's probably going to set up to start right now will be casinos, just because you'll be able to set up an establishment that will have that option.
Right.
Smaller sports books, I mean, it's going to be popular. It's
Yeah, I heard.
I don't
You
know
could do
why
it-
it's taken so
You could
long
do it
for
in
this
Vegas
to
though,
happen.
right?
Yes, you've always been able to do it in Vegas. There are certain things like the NFL was never getting involved in it. I mean, most sports.
NBA is heavy into it, but NFL they're kind of the
We're trying to keep this pure, not have what baseball had, because if you remember the Black Sox and Pete Rose, they really don't like gambling
no.
near
Pete Rose has got the biggest
sports.
ban in sport or in baseball history for gambling. But what about the Astros, dude, pulling out the biggest scam in baseball history, like whistles banging a beat onto a garbage can, stealing signals. So like if I hit the garbage can 3 times, that means it's going to be down the middle heater, and they got World Series taken away from them. And like
So people just thought they were cheering, but really they're like tapping out the code, right?
yeah,
So actually, funny that you call it code, because it's the they actually had a name for it. They called it code breaking. So just taking a look at some of the stories here that kind of detailed it, because there's been updates to the story.
yeah,
Some
it's
of the
ongoing.
some of the former general manager was fired. The former manager of the team was fired.
Some of them were on a different squad now, having like a better job than what they had there, and got fired.
Oh my god.
So they called it code breaking. They watched actually the television broadcast of a lot of the games, or a lot of the baseball games. You'd be, because you're able to see the catcher making
Yeah.
his little signs. They record it. So once they come up, they bang on trash cans to kind of pitch, or to kind of send the signal to the batter what kind of pitch is coming.
Oh my god.
And that's
great.
there are people who, like Clayton Kershaw, was getting his ass rocked.
And man, I mean,
all playoffs couldn't figure it out, and now it looks
and it's
like
funny because like
there's just so many cameras now. I mean,
everybody's cheating.
yeah, and I feel like with any college out there too, you hear any dirt being pulled up on a college, for a fact they could go to every single college in the nation and pull up dirt.
Yeah, there's a story somewhere.
Yeah. I
mean,
mean, one of the bad ones was at Baylor, and that's Baptist. It's a Baptist college in Waco.
Which one's that? The car
yeah,
accident?
no, they were the
Sex.
yeah, there was a lot of sexual harassment suits that were kind of brushed under the table. And that's kind of
And because they're a private Baptist school, they don't have to. Michigan State have to release because it's a public school, public information.
Okay.
This is Baptist. They wouldn't let.
Oh.
They wouldn't let nothing out their doors.
sort of parochial school protection, things like that.
Special rules.
But yeah,
it seemed like there was one more topic in there too that needed to be talked about. I think I might have lost.
Oh, but when you were talking about hockey, I've been working down in Detroit, and I'm parking rooftop Kobo every day, and I've been watching them tear the Joe down, and it's
that
sad.
hurts.
It's sad.
How much is left?
There's like some structural steel, and like a big catwalk still up. And it's just sad because literally when the Joe left, like it took away a lot of spots, a lot of businesses down there. There's actually a bar called Kobo Joe's. They're closed. Another bar right down there, both sports bars that everyone would go to after the game. And so like that section of town's kind of dying. And I don't know, Detroit's just weird in general like that.
No, it's so weird. Like, and I wonder if I just blame it on the fact that we're like been around long enough to see it happen. But even just driving through Bay City and stuff, you can see businesses that were there that are gone, and you can see things that didn't make it and things that are making it. And
like this reminds me of a story. The time we're riding through Saginaw with your grandpa, and we were driving by the Red Horse, and he was like, "Hey boys, I remember when this Red Horse bar was on a 2-lane gravel road, and now it's a 5-lane road, and it's just busy and crazy. And just to know that was standing alone at one point in time, and it's
and that was crazy. Like me, right out of high school, Charter Cable was really pushing. That was the first big breakthrough in digital cable, and so me and Forrest both got jobs as subcontractors for a company installing cable. Well, we were the new guys. They sent us to the east side of Saginaw.
Yeah. So if you're gonna make a mistake, it's easier to clear things up
Set
over
you
there.
boys up for failure.
And they're like, hey man, come back across the river before it gets dark. We're like, oh,
we
Jesus.
don't care if you don't get the job done.
But we learned real quick that we fit
It's
in fine
amazing
there.
what a remote and some batteries will do for you.
Oh yeah, like
you
we're
them
bringing
like
people happiness,
Yeah, like if
people
you give
love
them
the cable guy.
a 15-foot cord with.
And the best part was they were running this summer sizzler package, and so all we needed was like a signature. That's it. It wasn't like, hey man, do you got the money or not? Nope. Who's here to sign? It just had to have whoever called had to be there to sign it.
That would be dope, because that's good. It's a lot easier when you're not asking people for money.
Yeah, it was good.
Like, hey man, I'm here to. You could always, when you're solving people's problems, that's how you get to be everybody's
one time I was
friend.
at a house and the chick let me in. I'm hooking the cable up. Next thing you know, her boyfriend showed up, and he's jacked, and he's like, "I can't believe you are getting cable behind my back," and blah blah blah. And she's like, "Look, we've went so long without it," and they're like having like a boyfriend girlfriend fight. And at that time, I'm like, I need someone to sign.
Right.
Like, sorry to break up y'all's fight.
I don't
but
want to
got
get
shit I gotta
involved
do.
with y'all's domestic dispute, but
I gotta go.
signature, please.
There were
Thank you.
there were a couple of houses you'd pull up to, and you'd call the base, and you'd be like, "Hey, look, this place is boarded up. I don't know. I don't think it's the right one, And I call the number, and no one would answer, And then like a little while later, base would call back and be like, "Hey, head back. He's there. Go back." And you'd go back, and there'd be a dude standing there, freaking just fresh to death, dude. Just Jordans, just freaking.
You walk in.
You go in, the whole house is shut down. But then there's one room, and it's got like an outside door on the inside of the house, and you'd go in there, and it was just decked out in there. It looks like anything.
It looks like a $20,000 room, and the house is
they'd
boarded out. Like it was like a trap house or something.
Yeah,
Every now and then we would call each other and be like, "Hey man, I'm really gonna need your help on this one, dude." So,
Hey, rent's cheap.
And we'd show up and be like, "Hey, you gotta check this out.
Yeah.
This is messed up."
Yeah. Crawl through boarded windows to get to the flyest individual bedroom.
You want to hear some funny stories? I was a smaller dude, way better shape than I currently am, and I could fit into small spaces. So all the time, I would get a call from like a big dude, and they'd be like, "Hey, I need you to go in this crawl space," and I'm like, "You buying breakfast?"
Shit, yeah, you're gonna have to pay me.
I'm gonna need breakfast for this one.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of free breakfast, and I've been in some nasty crawl spaces.
Yep, I seen him go in some mean crawl spaces. Not even
the
think
things
twice.
you'll do when you're 19, 20 years old,
And you're broke.
You're like, and you like to party. So
our dads both taught us something, and I from talking to you, James, I can tell your dad taught you the same thing. The best place for you when you're broke is at work. Get your ass to work.
Yes.
My dad was like, "Get your broke ass to work."
When I was 18, he got me a pair of work boots and a lunchbox for my birthday, and I'm like, "What is this?" And he's like, "With the choices you've been making in life lately, you're gonna need this." And boy, was he right, because I wear work boots every day, and I carry a lunchbox with me everywhere I go.
Hey, there we go.
Those choices,
They give you the tools to succeed. My dad said, "Hey, I told you need to do your damn homework."
Oh,
because you don't do your damn homework, you're gonna be working. And I've been working.
Man. It's I guess I found out I can retire when I'm 65, and I hope and pray I make
That's
it
awesome.
to 55. But
Yeah, I'm in
65.
Techno.
I'm gonna be like the handicapped carpenter. I'll be having a tool belt hooked to my walker.
Hopefully, you're the dude that drives around in the work truck and.
Let's keep hoping.
Let's
keep hoping.
Keep the fingers
Keep
crossed.
hoping.
Hopefully someday.
That's great.
That my gift of gab will get me somewhere.
Right.
Speaking of getting us somewhere, where are we going with this? We haven't done any kind of introduction. We have a guest.
Yes, we have our first guest, podcast number 3, Forrest. Thanks for coming out, man.
And you want to know what's ironic about number 3 is I'm a third generation Forrest, so it just works out that
is great, dude.
I'm on number 3.
That's
number
great.
3 has always kind of been my number. Sorry, guys.
No,
number 3 is
baseball. I was number 3, or if someone stole it from me, I'd be 33.
Yeah.
And
gotta have your lucky number. See, I was 11, so I could be number 1 twice.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
That was definitely cocky attitude number.
Yes.
It was also number of the guy that sat on the bench. So life humbled that right on down.
And getting some humble pie, it helps you.
Right.
It does.
I had double zeros twice, and I always liked that. I don't know why. I just like the double zeros number on a jersey for some reason.
It looked cooler, man.
It looked good.
It looks
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Because it looks like, man, he really went double zero?
Yeah.
Not just 1 0, 2 0. See, the double zeros make it look like it's a big number.
Right.
Yeah.
Until you actually catch it. Think, hey, is that an 88? Double zeros.
Who you covering?
Zero.
El
Remember
Zero.
back when no, they had the what
Zero
was it? Back in the
squared.
NBA, they had the like you could have a zero and then a double zero.
Really?
I don't know. Is this a thing? I should look that up.
That guy.
No, I'm just shooting that one from the hip.
It could be.
I'm not even looking it up. We're gonna say that shit happened.
I
Yeah.
believe that.
I believe it. I feel like I've seen an NBA
Both,
person.
yeah.
Well, I know for a fact I seen a U of M guy today that, and his number was 00.
Like I've seen it in college. I've seen it in
Yeah.
pro. I don't know if they let you do that in football though, but they definitely let you do it in basketball. Basketball, you could be zero, you could be 00. Gilbert Arenas, my favorite zero. See, it's already dope to be a zero.
Yeah. Zero's a
Even
good
though
one.
that zero was a dope because he brought guns to his locker room. Moral of the
Yeah.
story is don't bring guns to your locker room. They go and kick you out for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they kick you out.
It's
for that.
frowned upon.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't don't bring guns to non-gun places and things will be a lot smoother, you know? I'm not gonna you know, I'm cool with guns and I'm cool with people having them and I'm cool with, but like the other day I'm just like at Meijer and the dude next to me is like packing and like real quick I just took a look at him and I kind of thought to myself, you know, this guy already looks like a dick. Like even if he didn't have this gun on him, he just kind of
You look like an asshole.
He looked
Because
like an
you're in
asshole,
mine.
man.
It's like, dude, you think you're gonna get attacked by the bacon aisle?
Yeah, man, and like
It's like
he
you
just was
expecting
already
real
putting off a
beef?
jerk vibe, you know.
I seen a guy in Speedway. I go to Speedway a lot, like 30 times a month. But I'm in Speedway. There's this guy with
We're gonna talk more about that later, though. The 30 times a month.
with
Continue.
the sleeves cut off, to the douchebag spot, showing ribs.
Yes.
He's got
Workout shirts.
He's got a revolver, packing mad heat, and like you say, the guy, like.
I'm cool with that, and yeah, there's
cool
guys
with
out there
that, but-
saving lives and stuff too, you know, and that's cool too.
They're
but-
called police officers.
and yeah, you know, like, dude, come on.
Yeah, I just know me personally in my life, I'm not trying to like shoot nobody. I'm hoping that I never have any sort of time I need to shoot anybody. I'm hoping that my situation.
I'm using
Well,
hope.
okay.
brings me to, like-
Okay. You work in Detroit. Y'all had the Detroit scene. Let's bring that back around to music. Ever DJ in a spot that you had a metal detector?
We had them like, we didn't play there, but we've had them use the wands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't think we ain't never played anywhere where they like walked you through or anything like that. No.
There's a couple spots in Flint, Pontiac that will remain nameless. That I almost wish they had the door metal one, even though it didn't really matter. I remember I was at the door bringing my DJ equipment in, and you know how the bouncers, bouncers aren't really paid. I was a bouncer, so I know, like, I was in the Saginaw, Mount Pleasant area. I know I wasn't really getting paid. I know that I did the little, I'm not trying to touch nothing, and then you do touch something, and the hell are you gonna do about it? The wayside, one time, I was watching the bouncer and he caught something, and I watched him catch something because we made eye contact. We made that eye contact like, well, we're both bouncers, so we both knew. I knew exactly when he looked up what was about to pop off. His eyes got all big. I'm like, oh, what's he about to do? He let him walk on in. I said, did you just let that guy in with a gun? He's like, yes. I'm like, I will see you later.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, like what do you? Oh man. Yeah, that's a terrible situation. Yeah, you know,
Just not good with alcohol.
Yeah, well, and we went to some clubs in Flint. I forget what ones they were.
Purple Moon
Purple Moon, dude. Oh
and
man,
Bugsies.
Bugsies. What was the one we were spinning dudes' rims? Like it was right when spinning rims come out. And me and AD, we've always been a really good time. We both.
We were
really
working
good-
in Saginaw on the east side. We could talk to anybody.
Yeah,
And
So
we come out of the bar and we had a good time,
and there's
man.
an Impala sitting on like 22 spinners.
Dude, and these dudes, it was full of
They
black
all
dudes
look
that
like
looked out cold, dude.
Young Buck for real. Every single one of them looked like Young Buck. They looked like
They weren't saying nothing. All the windows were down. And we came up, and Forrest leans in the car, and he's like, "Hey, man, ever since you got these spinning rims, to
I
you
bet your pussy rate's been through the roof,
your
man.
pussy rate's been through the roof." And they all kind of look
It's
at
like,
each other for a minute.
I'm glad you've noticed.
And
I have been quite successful, sir. Let me tell you about it. You know, everybody's gonna, you give the rims the proper
and then
respect.
we asked them if we could spin them, and so we're spinning the rims, and our friends come out, and they're like, "Dude, you guys need to get away. You're gonna get a shot." And we're like, "No, these guys
no,
are
we
actually
asked them.
cool."
They said it was
They
cool,
said
and
it
they
was
were
cool.
digging it. They thought it was cool.
'Cause
You
we
know,
were-
they just
we
got
were being a good-
spinners. You know,
We were being a good time.
we were being a good time. It was cool.
And typically in life, it doesn't matter what city you're being in or what situation. If you're being like a positive, kind of a funner person, your likelihood of having problems
And look, and
is
you know,
Good vibes.
good
and
vibes.
good
Getting
vibes.
out good vibes.
And
man.
what brought us together there was good music, good hip hop, you know. And we went to Flint to get it, you know, because
Oh,
we
yeah.
couldn't find what we wanted around
Because what
here,
we
you know. And
struggled
so
in was like all of a sudden the club scene around us died. It was gone. And the
Yeah.
Detroit club scene, because they're building the casinos, it also died. So now we're left with Yaktown and Flint and sometimes Saginaw. And it was like, so if you think about it, we
because
were going
after
to
Shooters went down and
well, we were
Hollywood
going to
Nights went down,
3 of the top 10 murder capitals in the entire U.S. as some young kids because that was what happened. Those were the only cities providing what we wanted
right?
to listen to. And
That's where the
do.
good DJs played, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a legit conversation because I know a lot of folks take for granted the club scene, how it was set up now, but when we were really starting to cut our teeth in it, it was not necessarily safest shit in the world.
No. Like Saginaw, there was dress codes, so we were already kind of fluent on everything. We never.
There was no hats in Westtown forever.
Yeah. And it sucked because I've always been kind of a hat dude. So then I'm there holding onto my hat. I felt like my game was taken right away from me because
Right.
my hair.
As soon as I walked in,
if I didn't wear a hat, I had my hair perfect.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Now I'm slightly I'm with the touch of gray.
Oh, same. I hide it. But the little widow's peaks.
Oh gosh, if I went to hide it, I'd spend so much money because.
Yeah, because once you start, this is the Elderly DJ podcast to where we talk about playing on our megaphones.
No, but a little background to some of that too is me and Forrest originally started DJing right out of that rave that I had talked to you about.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time a huge portion was, having that massive CD collection, having the ability to burn music, and then we were just getting our feet wet with partying in Detroit enough to come home with some,
music that people around here haven't ever experienced.
And then we were also pounding like LimeWire and stuff hard, so we were coming up with some of the newer stuff that was,
like State Theater in Detroit would be like Club Ignition, and we discovered a lot of music there, and that wasn't.
That club was really hit and miss. We went a couple of times and just knocked it out of the park, best time ever. And then a couple times we went, it was dead, It was,
But that's when we started just discovering Detroit, and that's what started getting us to discover different parts of.
Yeah.
Like when we first started going, we were like hip hop heads, and then we were always being introduced to the techno scene, and we were enjoying it, but we were still like favoring hip hop, and then we slowly started falling more in love with. We went to like this rave. It was in like an abandoned schoolhouse, and that was one of the craziest parties of our life. Like people were doing nitrous balloons, and there was like multiple different DJ spots. Like you went in this one in auditorium, and they were playing, you know, like some techno over here,
It was the
techno,
first time we seen underground mass production. Like it was like shocking.
mind blowing.
It was so
I still have never
organized
went.
for the underground,
I still have never went to a party that was as big and as wild
Well,
as
what
that
did
was.
wasn't the guy at the door? Was he just dressed like a SWAT guy, or
He
was
was
he?
dressed like a SWAT guy, and he had a charm on his necklace that was like a mini state trooper fucking badge.
Yeah.
And
Right off the bat, you're like walking in this rave, and all of a sudden it's like a state cop checking you out. And
and
you're like, wait a minute.
like, are we gonna get arrested right now?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
shit.
with the so, I guess tell the people about a rave. If a rave is a spot where you're worried about the cops there, it wasn't something that was normally kind of mass produced in the Detroit scene, or is that something
when
that
we first started going down and partying, you would get a flyer, and on the flyer would be a number.
Mhm.
That number would be to a pager, and after like midnight, it would give you the directions to where the party was. And so this is before GPS,
Mhm.
before all that shit. So we're down in Detroit trying to find some. Like, I'm surprised we made it. You know, like try.
Pagers. We all had pagers. That's how we all got a hold of each other. Pagers and freaking
Because it was,
pagers and payphones.
yeah, before people really had
Yeah.
cell phones. But yeah, I mean, we've been to all different types of wild stuff in Detroit. Like,
But it was like, I guess it was a rave because they weren't doing that anywhere legal, you know?
yeah, the
Mhm.
building was a condemned building, abandoned.
And everybody thinks that it was just like literally every person there's like overdosing on drugs. That's not necessarily the case, you know? I
Yeah,
mean,
I would, not everyone there was on drugs.
no, no.
I mean,
There's a lot of people there
every
just
party I've
partying.
been to, a majority of the people are drinking.
Yeah, and you but it's almost like that's how it kind of changed a little bit to where, you know, those underground guys and the promoters that were doing the underground stuff, the nightclubs seen it, they knew they were killing it. Something along those lines, they all started intermingling, you know. You
Yeah,
know,
because like,
all of a sudden you got a guy that's like a, you know, somebody like you, James, college educated, motivated DJ, and you know, he's been doing it in the underground for a while. Now he's communicating with nightclubs and stuff, and uh, I don't
So
want
it's
to.
like bringing different like kinds of groups of music lovers together
well,
because
also a
That's
lot
what
of
it-
the promoters, they have like a crew that's gonna follow them. Like that's how they get big. Is that people
like a party
like
crew.
I want to go to. I want to go to X's party because X party is the party
Yeah.
that don't stop.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
he's been bringing such and such artists to his, and this guy's
Yeah.
gonna be mainlining it, and that's the artist that everyone's going wild over in the underground scene at the time.
Right.
Because yeah, doing my research onto, because I mean we've talked about it on previous podcasts and just getting together at one as someone who has a techno background and one who's just like I've just been doing top 40s in hip hop. Like there was a process to even get to a rave. You had to have at one point you had to have a pager or know somebody that knew somebody
A
that could
lot
get
of
you
it was
access.
I know somebody,
Yeah, that's
and like
that's the only way that
we got brought into it by one of our buddies, and he was friends with these two strippers, and these two strippers were the ones that like because we didn't know no
That's
one
how it
to
all kind of
find out
branched
about
off.
this
Yeah.
this party. The two
Everything good
strippers.
starts with strippers.
It,
Ah,
the bad part is we never got to see anything cool
No,
out of it. They, we,
we
when
were a
we
little
hung out
too
with them, they weren't like
we were a little too young, and they seemed like
they were cool.
they were classy strippers.
They were. They,
classy strippers showing you the classy parties.
yes,
Yeah.
and they
Underground
There was
ones.
even a couple of times where they went to like a nightclub that we couldn't get in, because we weren't old enough.
yeah, because
And
we
so
weren't 21 yet.
they knew where to take us, so they'd like take us somewhere else and drop us off,
Yeah, we got dropped off at an after hours club one time, and I'm like, dude, this is just crazy. We're like 19 years old in some underground spot. Like,
That was good.
it was cool. Like, because we've always had good vibes everywhere we went. We never really had problems.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest point we can almost make out of this chunk of the conversation. Or, not music draws people together, and like-minded people gravitate together. And good vibes all kind of move together. So you get people. It doesn't matter where you're from or necessarily your background or any of that stuff. It, you know, there's even times that we've been partying there, and you're sitting there having a good time. There's somebody next to you, and you're like partying with them and stuff. And then all of a sudden you lean over and you're like, "Hey man, this DJ's pretty awesome. Have you seen him before?" And then the dude talks back to you in a different language,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you didn't expect
Yeah,
it.
that movement.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was going to be like an international type
it's
situation where people
international.
are like from everywhere to come to that show.
Yeah.
and house music, techno, especially techno, pulling, not having as much or as many vocals in it, that makes it more of a international language. Everybody can speak cymbal, everybody can speak beat and music and dance and rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do pull some of the language out of it, you you know tie a bigger field of people together, which is
Like, I mean, we bumped into a dude at a show. He was rolling on ecstasy really bad. Dude was struggling. Andy hooks him up with the water, and like
Saw a lot of
te-
that in movement.
like
That shit was
10 years
dope.
later, we're still friends with the guy.
yeah.
Like, that's so crazy to meet. Was that Steve Angelo?
um
And what club was that? Because we seen.
I have bought a lot of ravers water. Like if I look at a dude and he's locked
Yeah, but
up,
I'm talking
I'm
about.
buying the
Yeah.
dude a water. Right, yeah.
But
It had to be somewhere around that time.
yeah, and it was just we were the kids from the sticks, and we grew up on lakes, and we fell in love with the bricks. Like all the people from down there want to be where we're at, and we're so used to this. This is already our full time life that we enjoyed to go see the sketchy stuff. Like we
We
loved
vacation.
it.
Yeah, we vacation in the city.
We've stayed in every hotel. We've been in the Cadillac Book. We've been in Atheum and MGM. I mean, we literally stayed everywhere because he was going on like the hotel.coms, and he's like, "Man, we got a killer price on this room, and show up, and there's TV screens in the mirror." The one time Twista, so we stayed at the
Like the
Atheneum.
rapper Twister?
Yeah, we stayed at the Atheneum, and we parked the car. I look over, and literally, guy getting out of the car. I looked right at him, and I said, "That is fucking Twista." Like, there's no doubt in my mind.
And so then right away they put the buffer guy in between us. He's
Yep.
like, "Oh shit, these guys know who
Well,
he
Yep,
is."
then we
yep.
went out
Let's
clubbing.
get the security. Security.
We went out clubbing. We come back at like 4 in the morning. He's outside smoking a blunt, and we were kind of trying to put the feelers on, talking to him, but his posse wasn't gonna let that happen. But I said something real funny, and I remember the whole posse was laughing, and we could hear Twista laughing. Some guy was trying to give us a demo CD, and his like shorts kind of looked like a skirt.
And then right then, didn't like a valet dude about wreck a car right there too?
Yeah. I mean, it's
So
4 in the
fucked
morning.
up. It's like a fucked up moment
It
in
was
time.
it was a fucked up moment.
And spots where the valets are just as fucked up as the
And does
patrons.
anybody even know how to say it? Athenum?
Atheum.
Atheum?
Athenium?
I think it's
Athenium?
Athenium because it's Greek.
Yeah, I think so. I'd never say it right.
I remember the
I
one
never
time
been
they
there.
almost crashed Austin's car because it was
You
a
never been
stick.
there?
Mm.
Dude, if you ever
Oh.
stay in Detroit and you
I
get a
think
chance.
it's like a 5-diamond hotel. It's like not even
I mean,
in the
it's
stars.
it's not like updated and brand new or anything, but it's like you almost get 2 hotel rooms. Like you almost get like a hotel. You walk in
You get
and
like
it's
a
like,
living room, then
it's like
you
a living
walk
room.
down some stairs into your.
and then you get a whole nother room that's like the bedroom. Well, that's pretty awesome when you got like a couple of people there. If somebody needs to go to bed or sleep in, the other people can go out in the living room and kind of like close the door and chill. Veg out.
It's legit.
Um,
It's right next to Fishbones.
Oh, yeah.
Right by Oshalele.
Talk to the fat boy about food, I will always find it.
Oh God.
I use GPS in Midland, but if you tell me where a restaurant is closer, I'll probably be able to
So
find
have you
it.
messed with the Panda yet in Midland? I heard everyone saying it's garbage.
Yeah, it's next to my job, so it's.
My theory is you always gotta let the grill season up. You know what I mean? Like you don't go nowhere on week 1.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's actually not. Okay, so it's Panda. We already know
I
that.
love the orange chicken. I mean, every time I go there, I get the biggest.
Get the bigger plate.
Yeah.
Give me all the orange chicken you can give me. Can you just charge me for 2, but hook me up with like a little bit extra? They haven't. I haven't found the one who hooks it up there, but since it's so close to work and
Well,
it's so.
one of these days they're gonna stop in at your work and you're gonna be like, "Look,
Hey, wait a minute.
Hey, if I can. Well, let me not.
Right.
Let me not say that because it is not going to be worth the orange chicken.
Right.
I'm just troop
I'll
on
just
up
be
to.
like, hey man, I will
Right.
get somebody to help you quicker if you help me."
Me.
No, that's like the buddy thing. It's like, hey, dude, like, if you throw like a roof on my house, dude, I'll toss you a case of beer.
Oh
like,
God,
bro.
try being a drywaller. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you
Oh,
understand
right,
the same
right.
thing. Like it never works out right.
Yeah,
But,
like,
like, I hate the
hey man,
people
will you stay after and work for less? And
It's like I don't need practice no more.
right.
Oh yes,
I'm
I
a
mean
professional.
we're DJs. We could always talk
Oh.
about the work for free.
Oh,
Oh, man.
The
And they have no idea about anything with the time, the money. But like I hate going to Cadoba and someone it gives you like a half a spoonful of beans or something. It's like I look at him like, is that literally coming out of your check?
yeah, like you can fill
put
that
it-
up.
Put another
You-
scoop in there, man.
Man, who are you? I always feel like yo, you could fill that up.
Yeah, like this. I got a bowl for a reason.
It's like could you put a little more on there and not charge me? Cause yeah, like we discussed before, my father gave me tools. The tools he gave me aren't actual tools. He just taught me how to be super cheap.
I need to get some of those tools.
It's like, yeah, let me, not that piece. Let me get that piece.
Yeah.
Oh, it's extra? No. You have to annoy them enough to where they hook you. Because that's how I learned how to do it. You don't butter them up. You annoy them enough to where they're just like, fuck it, let me get this guy out of here. I hate this guy.
I'm pretty sure when we were just at the circus, we went out in the hallway to grab some cotton candy, and like the dude wasn't paying attention, and the cotton candy rack is like a big long rectangle, and it's got like a whole bunch of holes in it, and out by where you're standing, it's these big bags of cotton candy. Well, right as you go to take one out, the dude realized I was getting ready to take one out of the end, and real quick he grabbed one from the back and held it out, and he's like, hey man, right here, and he gave me that one. Well, I took it and paid for it, and I just thought, oh, he didn't want to have to lean out and put one in the front. Man, when I walked away, I kind of held that one from the back up, held it up to the one in the front, and I'm pretty sure that the ones in back were light, He
Yeah.
had the fat ones up front, the fat
Yeah,
bags.
because
Yeah, then you look
'cause
at it.
that's- And then that's
Oh,
not
I'll
the
grab
one they
it.
give you. Oh no, play. Let me get
I'd be like,
let me
no.
get the big one.
I'm the purchaser. I'm choosing the one I want.
Yeah, that's what I should have done too. No.
I'm
take
really
it this
surprised
one.
because you always.
I'm usually pretty
you're
rough about
usually
it.
pretty-
I got burnt really bad buying some lumber one time, like real bad, and now I'm just like, the pickiest son of a bitch. Like, I will sit at the lumberyard and I will just dig through shit. I will look at every board, hold it all up. You know, my father-in-law's a builder. He taught me how to, my best buddies of carpenter, they taught me how to, like, not buy the most crooked wood in the pile.
And sometimes what what you see is what you get.
Yeah, we went from this. I like the diversity. We went from illegal raves in Detroit to picking good lumber. Gotta have day jobs, fellas. Gotta have
Right.
day jobs.
Right.
But no, talk a little bit more about the raves.
Yeah.
Not maybe not the raves so much. Hit me up with a party story.
Well,
What's the wildest party you guys did together? Because we know we got tons of party stories.
one thing I did that was coming to mind was just the you know, so after we were able to get a rig and had the music to run it, you know, then we started coming across more opportunities where we needed to use it, where we needed to DJ, where we wanted to play, and then after so long, it finally came a demand where we needed like a name, you know. Well, we had always our area was always called 689. You know, we lived in Hope, and it was the number started out 689. So
The phone number.
the phone number. So it was like we were already, you know, it's kind of like we already had a name. Like we didn't really need one. We didn't have to really pick one. It was like already there. You know what I mean?
Because like Andy had a house and I lived with him, and we were always partying, and so people from Sanford, their first three numbers was 687, and for their local landlines, ours out here was 689. So we'd be calling our friends from Sanford, hey, why don't you come out to the 689, and we're gonna have a good time tonight.
Yeah, we're grilling, we're boating, whatever. 689
always,
party. You know?
Hey, we're gonna come out to the 689. We're gonna come out to the 689.
You guys are so cool.
And oh man,
and then before long, it was. So that's what we called it when we went and had like one of our first, you know, a little bit more paid for commercial type parties or actually what it was
because it became 689 Entertainment.
Yeah.
And
guys got a little organized on them.
That's when we had to organize up a little bit,
clean up
a little bit,
and you know, like our first couple of shows around the area were we'd have like just a phenomenal one, and then we would get like a crappy date, and so like with the crappy dates, sometimes you'd have like not exactly the turnout you'd want. But
yeah, it was really hit and miss. Like,
but we started like getting quite a few people that were like coming no matter what.
Yeah.
And then that started just a good vibe.
So then we started trying to take all those ideas from Detroit and use them, you know, in any way that we could. We started bringing in a photographer. We started getting a guy to make our flyers for us. We looked for a place to call home. So we the place that actually
let us do what we wanted.
Let us do what we wanted to do. You know, we could have played at a lot of places, but there was one place that was going to let us do what we wanted to do, and that was the Northern. So
and we had multiple different scenarios we could do at this establishment, and one of our best party successes was a deck party.
Yep.
Outside, cops only came like 10 times.
That is where Player 3 enters game. I came out to a couple of the deck parties when I moved back to Michigan. I was living in Chicago at the time. Moved back to Michigan, and my older brother was telling me, it's like, hey, you know, I know you were carrying records because I was interning down in Chicago, and the only way to get in the club scene was to carry somebody's records or be somebody's bouncer. I came back to find out that I learned about the Detroit techno scene while I was actually in Chicago. Because everybody would ask me about it, and I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. And they're like, how do you not know? Do you not know what you don't know? What the hell are you doing here?
Right.
Chicago house versus Detroit techno. It's like, how do you
Right.
How do you not know this? I come back up and I am listening. I'm hearing more and more about techno and hearing more about parties, especially when I came back to the area and hearing more about local DJs. Came out to a northern party and was like, "Yeah, I never expected anything like this in Midland, especially at the northern, because the northern was a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll
Yeah, but once
before
you
those
shut the
parties."
lights off, it's whatever you want it to be,
Yeah,
like.
it was one of the only places that would let us transform it.
Well, it was funny because like we one of the first nights that we like really cranked up the music, they had this stained glass separating the bowling alley from the bar,
Well, it
and
was when we finally went with Pro Audio.
yeah,
We were
the
using
big switch to pro audio. We first night bass is hitting real good, and all of a sudden we hear, and we're like, what was that? And we look on the floor, and it's a light bulb. We're like, where in the hell did that come from? And about 2 seconds later, the bass just boom, 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 and right again, we were shaking the light bulbs out of the
Out of the
socket.
fixtures. That is dope.
And then
That's a party story. That's a proper fucking party story.
Yeah, that's when you know the bass is hitting. Right?
Well, right then is when the bartender, that's when Mike came up and started just sweating us out. He said, "Hey, look, you guys are gonna shake these freaking windows loose, man." He's like, you guys got to back it off, back it off." And I'm like, "Man, what are you talking about?" I'd been in there for some rock bands and stuff, and they had it cranking.
Yeah, because
And
they're using the same audio.
yeah, it was the
house
same audio.
system.
It was the same. It was like a concert pro audio. And so anyway, turns out between the bowling alley and the bar there was stained glass windows, and they were just sitting there vibrating. I mean, they weren't even.
Like the one day we finally
They were so
turned
loose.
the bass up and like walked over there and we're like, dude, it's these windows. That's what's.
And we checked it out, and there was like 6 or 7 of these giant windows, and so
And that show we were getting sweated out like the worst of all time.
yeah.
Like, cause I was getting in trouble for being like a bad drunk and making poor decisions. And we were also getting in trouble because of the glass, and we were like, look, we want to like make this right with you guys, because right now
and they were
people
trying
are
to make it,
vibing off of the louder music,
and then they were fighting with us trying to make it no drinks on the dance floor. I'm like,
and like the one time we played a bunch of swear words, and they're like, oh, you offended people, and it's like.
shut the fuck up.
You're never gonna make. We're never gonna make everyone happy, and like we heard a rock group in here the week before.
So I wind up finding out like how to take care of this problem. I talk to my father-in-law and shit, and he gives me an idea and shows me the material I need. And dude, we came back in there with like 4 caulk guns and taped off all the windows, and we caulked those babies inside and out. Taped it all off, caulked it, wiped it, and then pulled the tape all off and stuff, and made it look all nice, and let that stuff dry like 2 or 3 days before we showed up. And then the next time we showed up, just bumped it as hard as we could. There was no more windows shaking. All the light bulbs had been tightened up, or they had all fallen out. That were
You had to renovate the northern to throw parties in. That shit is dope. That's so dope. I like it.
Well, it was funny because after we fixed the windows, there was never a single complaint on.
The bartender he didn't give a shit then.
It's just the windows did sound like they were gonna break.
They did. They were gonna break. Yeah, that was good. And then they housed us for quite a long time, and they put up with our shit for a while. And we even man, it seemed like a while there where we were the top performer there. We were getting there pretty often. People were expecting it. It was going well. There was always the hiccups and always the this and that's. And for the most part, it was fun, and it kept us going and kept us growing, and gave us a home. A place
we started being able to get good dates.
Yeah, started getting better dates, and then
because that was what was tough about the beginning of everything.
And then one of the most important parts was, my brother Austin was also pulling people for us, so he was doing a mean job.
Because he was 10 years younger than us, so he was helping.
He was on the horn.
He had his crew that would come, and we had our loyals from before that.
And it'd turn into quite a show. A couple of times, I remember one time we were uh, just fogging the place out like as hard as we could. Like I'm talking, we got a new laser. That's what it was. We got a new laser. It was a bad motherfucker, and we had to stretch it. We had to push it to the test, and the only way you could really do it was to fog the place, and the more you fogged it, the cooler it got.
And
So
we wore out some foggers.
we just kept fogging. I remember somebody coming up and saying, this was like the fourth or fifth no fog warning, and someone made the comment that
like a fourth or fifth no fog warning.
someone made the comment of like, the girls can't even see in the girls' bathroom anymore, and like one of my buddies threw in, yeah, dude, it's so foggy in there. The girls are falling right off the toilets, man. And I can just remember somebody saying that.
So the place is obviously designed to kind of handle this. It is you guys threw full scale fog, phone parties there.
No,
Yes, no.
We did deck parties. I got to tell you the truth, I have a couple of parties still that I always wanted to throw there that I never did. I always wanted to do a bowling alley DJ, nightclub DJ, and a deck DJ. And have multiple DJs play each stage throughout the night, and do like a huge,
Get the whole premises
full
to where
takeover.
where you have multiple people playing at the same time,
Yup.
but they're in their own secluded area to where you can basically only hear what
Yeah, I need and
3 different scenes.
yep, and bring we need 3 rigs there pumping.
No, the one time they had a tent there for some other purpose, and we strong armed our way into it, and
They we seen them setting the tent up a couple days before, and I called and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, there's like a bike rally on Saturday, and they got a band playing in there." And while we were playing there on Friday, I said, "Hey, can we have the tent on Friday if they got it up?" And sure enough, they got it up, and they said, "Yeah, you can have the tent." And we flipped it into this. We called it techno beer
techno
tent.
beer tent.
Techno beer tent. And at the last minute, one of my all-time favorite DJ buddies from Detroit was gonna be near the area and hit me up, and we got chatting, and I asked him, and he said he could come play it. And so me and Forrest got this whole techno beer tent thing set up, and here they had this
And
monster
and
tent.
everyone is like showing up, like and
Tons
showing
of-
out. There was so many people
tons of
there
people
because it was something different.
something different, something new, and
It was a beautiful summer day.
and it was a nice day.
Beautiful day.
And we had a rocking system in there. So at the time, we had like 5 cool DJ lights, 5 pretty rad DJ lights. Well, in that tent, they lit it up awesome. It really
Yeah, because this time
lit the place
like,
up.
we didn't shoot it at people's faces. We were like shooting it up into the tent,
And
and
made-
it was
It was cool. It was cool.
Super cool.
The funny part was the next day we get a phone call, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, recovering. And they're like, "Can you come back here and bring your lights?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Why?"
No.
And they're like, "Well, what was it? There's a DJ there or a band there or something." And they had audio, but they had no lights. And so here they are outside in a tent with like one light bulb just lighting up this tent, and they didn't have nothing else.
And the night before, we had it
In
like
the night before, we packed it.
full.
And the next night, nobody came, and it was freaking just super, super dead. So it wound up being super beneficial that we did make it happen, but at the same time, we a little bit felt like we kind of robbed the situation because, I mean, it was...
Because everyone partied so hard with
Hey,
us that they weren't going to go
Hey,
back
listen.
up.
Can't help what they can't help.
Yeah.
If we party too hard, hey, we can't help that they got to come on after us. Or in that case, you guys at that moment. So you didn't have... So at that time, was anybody else DJing with you? Were you collaborating with
No,
anybody else in the
not really.
area, or
No.
there was no other techno in the area?
Me and Forrest would take turns. One of us would go first, and then the other one would go second, and then later on we'd go together.
Yeah, like because for a while I would do the more hip hop,
Yep.
and he would do the more electronic.
House, techno, electronic.
And because like when we started building our name, we were a lot more into hip hop at that time too, and with
it was the nature of our area.
And living in our area, we had to get
the Tri-Cities that's what they were hungry for, that's what the club was here, and that's what people were bumping in their car.
We kind of would just sprinkle heaters in and started
slowly
getting
try
people
and hook 'em.
to then they started being like, hey, that one song you play all the time, play that one more. And then it came to they were recognizing another track, and before you know it, I had like basically quit my like get drunk mix that I kind of had going on for a while. Like I'd be playing like Twisted Drinks, and I would play like a lot of songs like Exhibit, call it what you want to call it. I'm a fucking
Some of the
alcoholic.
some
you
of
know,
the
like a lot
up-tempo,
of
party,
tempo,
get drunk.
and like get drunk.
And it went good.
Because that was the vibe. I mean, I was
and like
at that same
like
time.
pop champagne.
I was doing it too.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
that's what they wanted at the Wayside too. When we were going up there and playing, it was the same situation.
We had a girl come up to us at the Wayside, and Andy was on, and so like when Andy was on, I would try to. I would be the guy that would you would request your song to me, and you'd be like, "Bro, you got to play this song," and like so. I fought off people all day, every day, and then one time this chick comes up to me and she's like, "If you don't play No Hands, if you don't play No Hands, my dad is friends with the owners, and you will never DJ here again. If you don't play No Hands right now."
Didn't she come back and say it a second time?
Well, I was like, look, we're working into that, like it's still like 10 o'clock. We don't want to play those songs till around.
It was like the heater song of the night, everybody.
Yeah, but at the time it was the best song, and of course we were gonna play it, but we weren't gonna play it right at that minute. And
this bitch is like, nope,
sweat me out.
9:40, play it, motherfucker.
And she's like trying to fight me, and I'm like,
they get aggressive in Mount Pleasant, man. I've done it. Trust me, I remember. I remember. There was a lot of times yep, got you. Next.
Yep.
Got you. Next. You said you were going to play my song earlier. I'm just going to leave. I'm like, I'm going to play it next. Hold on.
The Tribe Called Request.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I've had people come up to me, and they're like, we have like a good set going, and they're like, can you play some Kid Rock? I'm looking at him like,
clearly no.
I like Kid Rock, don't get me wrong, but like at this situation right here, right now,
it's
the dance floor is full, and I guarantee if we put in a Kid Rock song, it's
gonna make people uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it's gonna clear the floor. I'm not clearing the floor.
Right. Oh man, I had this one time we were DJing, and I sucked them all in. I got the dance floor packed, and me and Andy are doing shots. We're like, man, it's gonna be a good night. And I'm like, yo, I'm gonna hit him with this track, and I played it, and it was a Kesha track. Everyone laughed, and I'm like, I don't even really like the song, but like it
was a popular girls' song at that time, and we felt like the girls there were gonna be into it,
and then they all like just and I'm like,
wah wah, bro. I know.
So never
it's keeping the girls on the floor, because once you lose the girls, you lose the guys.
Yeah, the guys ain't. Well, first off, a guy ain't gonna come out until a chick's out, and that's why people like. We always would tell them, like we do what chicks like.
We try to play the ladies' request as much as possible.
Yeah.
That makes sense in the mix. I don't want to be because I've said this on too many podcasts. People are gonna think I'm like the asshole DJ that will literally be happy to refuse your request. I'm not happy to refuse a request.
But like
I am glad.
We were to a point. We did a show at the Prime, which I'm not gonna speak names about that one because I imagine that one would be like a whole nother pod. But like, so we're doing this big show, and we got a lot of money invested and everything, and we were both at a really good spot in our DJing, and my role for this show was going to be the opener. So I went through and toned the tempo down and made a real like I made the perfect opener set in when I like took pride knowing I was going to be the opener. It didn't matter to me. To
It
me,
wasn't about who was on the dance floor.
yeah.
It wasn't about
And then like someone comes up to you and requests a song. It's like, dude, you don't even know what I have invested into this
yeah.
playlist. Like,
Or they say something like, "Hey man, if you don't pick it up, no one's gonna dance." You know, like fuck you, man. It is fucking
it's like right now, this is a time when people are fueling that fire. That's like what I was saying. Like, I had to like get drunk mix for a while, and it was because I was trying to fuel your fire. I wanted you to be social and not be into the actual dance mode that we were gonna take you to.
yeah,
That's after.
yeah.
So is that more of a, okay, we're trying to feel the crowd out, try to warm it up into kind of the heaters, or
I
were you
Yeah, because
doing?
we always
I
had the list that was the after midnight list that would never be, like
We won't get into that until it's
yeah, like our
absolutely happening.
absolute heat.
there's
heat
always been that love for that down tempo techno or that down techno like a deep house sound, and some of that stuff is not a peak hour speed, you know, or whatever. And so our love for that has always helped us grow that area of music. And so sometimes the opener spot has been kind of cool because it gives us a chance to flex something that we love, you know, something that we like. So, excuse me, all in all, um like so when we wound up getting mixed in with Glowhard and we were playing at the Dow Event Center, there was 5 DJs or whatever, and right off the bat, as I heard guys clamming up about no one wanted to open, that was right away. I said, "Hey, we want to open, you know, we want to open." And he's like, "Oh man, I don't know. We were gonna put you guys in the middle, you know." He's like, "Half the set is just lights on, people getting ready, you know, blah blah blah, getting started." And I was like, "No, no, no, give us that spot," because I had already been to one where one of the dudes came in way too fucking hard. Like I'm talking, we get together,
First track is
just yeah, like Skrillex through the roof. And we just got done having like a team meeting, and it was like, "Hey, bro, keep it low, keep it ready, you know, ready, steady, and fucking and build, you know." No, it was like
it was like, hey, I'm gonna
just
I'm gonna
dinging.
play what the headliner's probably gonna be playing, and I'm doing that to start the show off because I'm a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
Because I'm
there's
not looking at the big picture. I'm looking at trying to make me be the picture. When,
Yeah.
bro, you're not. It's not a solo show.
And you know, like I think even Moody Man says he's the greatest opening DJ all time or something like that, you know. That dude, that's so rad. That spot is rad. Like you totally you can really paint the night. I've actually been talking to James a lot about it, how like, you know, you walk into a nightclub and you know, you have all these reactions as you walk in, and how if you walk into a awesome place where, you know, the first person that you bump into is the bouncer and he's cool to you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then, you know, the next thing you do is you talk to the person that you're getting your money from, and they're cool to you too, and they're a nice person, you know. So now you had like two good, you know.
good interactions to call like a night theory. It's the what will every face opportunity, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. Every opportunity you have to control the ambiance of the situation, it's nice to have. You get in the club, not hard to get in. You get to the bartender, easy to get a drink.
You
Yeah,
like the bartender, you're happy to
because
tip them.
it like bartenders help the game so much.
Oh yeah.
Like every show we were doing, at the Northern, I would be the first one to get a drink, and every time I would throw out like a huge tip just because I knew like I'm just I'm trying to make them be in a better mood.
Yeah.
We would always we would always
We
treat
tipped the
our
door
staff.
guy.
Yeah, we
We
treat our staff great because we already know it's probably gonna be a shit show, and
and we need all the help we can get.
and I might be part of the
Yeah, I might be part.
I
It's
might
gonna be a
part of the
shit show, and I'm going to be part of it.
I
So
used to like be a little more wild. And,
Part of the team might be part of the problem,
yeah,
but
we've had that.
listen,
But
we
for the
brought
most
the good
part,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part, like it's always been positive vibes. But it's because like
we worked
we
hard to
always
we
were
worked hard
looking
to
at
build the vibe, and then so yeah, so we need all those helpers. We need that cool door guy. We need that cool bouncer. We need that cool bartender, and then we need that stiff drink, and then a when all those things line up, then it helps so much. It's like those people are in a cool mood. For Halloween, when we played at Westtown, it was cool when we brought those bags of candy and ripped them up and set them out everywhere.
Mhm.
Every time I turned around, I seen somebody eating candy. Everybody was cool as hell. I don't know if it was
I
because
remember the one time I forget the club in Mount Pleasant that we DJ'd at, but we went as Run DMC, and that one was
That's the chain over there.
that's the
Yeah.
shit.
Every time I see it, whenever I come into the studio, I'm like, that looks like y'all are doing
Oh,
some
dude,
Run DMC
we
shit.
Yeah.
we nailed it.
It was pretty good. What
We,
was it?
so
Shaboom's.
so one of
Now
our
it's
biggest
now it's
shows.
called Encore, right? Mount Pleasant.
I haven't been to Mount PZ and
Mm.
Pull that mic just a little bit closer, just
Yeah,
a little bit.
no, but one of our first, like when we were throwing a lot of house parties, and we were having a lot of success because it was all our friends and we all had the same taste in music. But one of our first big parties was a Halloween party, and that's like kind of well, every year we just kept throwing another Halloween party that was like bigger.
Halloween's were the climbers. Yep, that's what climbed it all up.
Like I mean, besides the summer parties that we used to do some backyard out in Sanford stuff that was wild redneck, but we played good music. But like when we started getting more indoors,
Actually, we're gonna go into that. Let's go into that a little bit more. Because you were taking, and I think that's something that I wanted to know a little bit more about. You were taking a musical genre that's not played in the areas that you were playing at. I mean, in fact, I would go as far as to say you would never expect to really try to get a Detroit techno vibe to a 689 to a 687 area.
yeah.
But you were to talk a little bit more about that. Like where when you said that you had freedom in different gigs, you could definitely go on a little bit more about how you were able to swing that.
That was difficult starting out, and that's probably what turned us to better audio. Is
Because it was hard to sell without
we could
pro
sell
audio.
we could sell the songs they knew
But like
on a small rig,
in
but when it turned into the house and the techno and shit, we needed to bang it. We needed to, they had to feel it, and that's when we had that. Right about the time we started upgrading the system, then we were able to kind of hook some of the bass lovers. The people that
Is that why you're a tech upgrade freak at all times?
no, like that's just a Alvord thing. Like his entire life, he is just it, he. If you want some facts and like say you're gonna purchase anything, talk to him, and he's probably him or someone in his family has already done mad research on it, and he'll know more about it than you. Like
Good.
my whole life, it's been like that with everything. Like it doesn't matter. They do their research hardcore.
I I I think my dad was techie, at a time, and so I think that kind of,
Well,
and then you know, being a early computer owner. So okay,
He was the first person I knew, like
We
out of our friends that had the internet, had a computer, and
so
all
we
that.
had a computer, before the internet, and I I lived up on the lake, and so it wasn't like in the city or nothing like that. So I didn't have a bunch of friends and stuff. I wasn't out, just playing football games with my homies and stuff.
Mm.
We were out in the sticks, and so I started really pounding
In
on
the
this.
summertime, it would be good. In the wintertime, it would be bad.
Yeah, I started really pounding on this computer, like just trying to figure out things I could do with it. And
Oregon Trail.
no, it was a better computer than that. It was
Apple
past that.
IIe,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, it was past Oregon
It was
Trail,
past Oregon
past
Trail.
8-bit gaming.
What?
God, we're
Doom.
old.
It was probably Doom. No.
Yeah, it was probably right around that era, like the first.
Well, no,
Doom
it's funny
stuff.
because when me and Andy first met each other, talking about computers, it was in a computer class. So our 7th grade year, our town had 3 elementaries, and we all met up at one junior high. And our 7th grade year, we had every single class together, and we were both the loudmouths, we were both the pranksters, and we did not like each other at first. And the funny part was we were just we messed with everybody, and like
Then
we
before we knew it, we started teaming up, messing on.
and we were like, wow,
Whoa, we're
like,
good at
we're
this.
doing it. Like we're in computer class, and we had to put this piece of plastic over your hands, like came up like it had sides that came up 4 inches.
So
and
you
flat-
couldn't see where you were
where
typing,
you're typing. Well, Andy was like, "Hey, yo, just look at the computer next to you."
I'd push the guide up on the computer.
and so he was already teaching me computer stuff when we first met in 7th grade. And
It was funny too because then like the next year we had keyboarding, and the teacher would be like, "All right, type this paragraph 3 times." Well, it didn't take long for right away. I was like, I ain't typing shit 3 times. Type, delete, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste.
Knowing the shortcuts before the teacher actually knew them.
yeah, because like we were around before the internet too. Like that's what
And you want to know what this
telling-
just brought up? Music. At the time when I was really starting to mess with that computer, it was the Warren G out. The Warren G CD had just come out because I can remember just putting that thing in and just letting it ride. Like I mean that
Well,
CD was
that
like
was at the time of Doggy Style and Chronic and Warren G. Like for us, like
that
we
CD
were like
was
13
so
years old when that music was coming out. So like we
I don't know why I connected with it so good, but something about that CD I really connected with it good. I think I loved the Dre stuff. I loved the Snoop stuff, but something about Warren G being like, talking about like, the street lights just came on and my mama's in the streets
And
telling
having
me
Nate
to come
Dogg-
home.
Yeah,
It was
this
like,
DJ,
it
yeah.
was like real shit, man. It was like it felt good to hear that, and just some of his it was such a
It's laid back.
it was laid back, it was laid back. It felt good.
well, and we were transitioning as teenagers, and then like this new, like obviously rap was out before that, but like when this hit the scene was when it started pulling us into it. And I mean, if I could pick, the holy grails, the CDs where you can listen to front to back, Doggy Style and Chronic were like the first 2 rap CDs for me personally that like I could
get
just
played.
play and listen to. And then like from there we started venturing heavily into rap for a long time.
Yeah, and like one thing that I've noticed about when I buy vinyl, I you know, I love records and I love buying records. But you know what I'm scared of and what I don't like doing is buying that new track on a record. I'm not so quick to do that. You know what I mean? I guess some of the record stores around here don't have as the ability for me to feel that music out a little bit prior to, and then make that choice, or like, there's not like I can't just go to Midland Bay City Saginaw and just start listening to a bunch of house music or techno music on vinyl. But at the same time, like now I see myself like my collection when I really jumped into buying vinyl, the first thing I did is went back and bought all those. That
all
was the first thing.
all your staples.
Yeah, yeah. And so I really felt myself like the stuff that meant more to me. I wanted that on wax. I wanted that on
Yeah.
vinyl, you know,
Mhm.
to where yeah, would I still like be flipping through and come across something newer that maybe I wasn't in love with, or maybe there's only one track I liked or something? Would I still have that impulse buy? Oh hell yeah, you know, I'm still gonna do that. You know, I'm still gonna you know just grab one and you know I know in that pile over there there's still like freaking 10 of them with the wrapper still on it. You know, I think I
Mhm.
bought three Kendrick Lamar vinyl, three albums, and
Haven't opened any of them.
none of them been opened.
It's like I think at the house right now I have 3 of those mystery packs that Jim put together at Radio Wasteland, to where you pay $10. It's got like a $20 vinyl in there, to where you get something really good, and then the rest are from like the $2 or $3 racks. But getting back to the technology thing, because we talked about that a little bit earlier, not having that access to vinyl. How are you guys doing shows with Detroit Techno? Was it CDs? Was it tapes?
Yeah, it was all CDs. Everything was CD, and
Yeah, because
and for a while,
we were like the
we weren't really getting our hands on it. I wonder if that's kind of what the draw was too. For a little bit, we weren't the only way we could get it is if we went to Detroit. You
Mhm.
know, they weren't. But then slowly, as like people could start burning CDs and stuff, then I think we started getting them. And then one of the first ones, like I was telling James, how like that Bad Boy Bill hit us. You know, we
Banging
banged.
on the Dex Volume 4.
Was it 4 or 3?
It was 4.
4.
And like yeah, that CD like straight up changed my life
It
for
did. It
sure.
did. He stole a clip. What was it off? I don't know. Maybe he didn't steal it. Maybe he did it with his own voice or whatever. But there was this part where it was like,
The What You Doing Getting Bad?
no, are you afraid of the boogie
Oh
monster?
yeah, the Get
Are
Down.
you afraid of the boogie monster? Are you afraid of the boogie monster?
It's
And
like
then
boom, 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 boom.
get
Get down.
down. Get down. And that part kind of sounded like Arnold a little bit, you
Mhm.
know? And so it was like
Well,
Arnold
we
doing
were always like, get down.
get down. So, dude, here it is, like, I don't know, like 8 years later, 6 years later, we see that Bad Boy Bill's playing at this club in Detroit. We've been dying to go there, so we freaking go there. We have the absolute time of our life. I think I told you a little
Yeah,
bit about
because
it
the
once
club
before.
only held 400 people, so it was kind of a more intimate show.
And at the end, Bad Boy Bill's was kind of like a little bit of a cold looking dude. Like he never really smiled or anything, you know.
And he was Chicago House.
And people were trying to get their picture taken with him, and I was noticing that like the chicks were getting their picture taken, but you know, like if he wasn't dying to go get a picture taken with a couple dudes, you know what I mean? I could
Mhm.
tell, and so we used my old lady for bait, you know, and pushed her up there, and we're like, hey. Bill, she wants to get a picture with you, you know. And right away he stopped in his tracks and was like, "Oh, all right, you know, a hot blonde, you know." And so she goes up to get her picture taken, and I forget how we brought it. Oh, right away, Forrest looks at him and he goes, "Bill, I got a question for you." And he's like, "What's that?" And Forrest is like, "Hey, man, are you afraid of the boogie monster?" And
And
dude, he looked at us like, "Oh, fuck,"
like
you
you
know.
guys actually know.
He's like, "You
So
fuckers
he
are."
reached out and we shook hands and hugged, and I was
Yeah,
like,
dude,
oh
you
my
know.
god, because everyone, you're either
And the
in
dude
some
who
way you're
opened
like
for him,
tooting their horn.
the dude who opened for him was a Chicago dude too that rolled with him and opened for him often. And the dude was like, "You guys are fucking cool as fuck, blah 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 blah." And then before he left, he's like, "You fuckers need to remix that track. You fuckers got to remix that track." I
Mhm.
can still.
It was
See, that shit
awesome.
is strange though for me, because you know how in hip hop and like the hip hop circles, they don't want you to copy, they don't want you
Yeah.
to steal their shit.
Yeah.
I mean, people
Even though
use
like
samples, but in
yeah,
techno,
everyone.
they want you to remix it, do your own
Well,
spin of what they
yeah,
did.
like there's this song I was listening to the other day, and it's actually a hip hop song, but this kid from Russia remixed it. It's this Roses track, and it is just
Oh, the Andre 3000.
No, no, this is like Saint John or something like that. Like it's I can pull it up, but like
New one?
yeah, it's pretty new. I would
Yeah,
say
actually, I think
here
I know what
I
that
could show you
is.
on my Spotify because like at least I could find what it is. Don't call me on my phone.
I actually just think I shouldn't plug another podcast, so I won't. Let's just not. It's not the Joe Rogan podcast. So yeah, this dude.
Yeah, that number one.
Yeah, roses.
Yeah, that
So yeah, I was actually okay.
that's
It's an old episode. Uh, these are these are actually new hip hop joints, but there's a lot of EDM dance house influence in there. The so how you guys so basically what I'm getting from it is you guys started your techno journey starting on the hip hop path, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
yeah
To where I'm going hip
yeah.
hop to getting my techno education from Andy. This is actually exactly how you guys started
Well,
out.
but like if you wanted to go like full on, we were definitely rock people first because
Well,
both of
and
our
then don't
parents
don't they
were
say that, like most of the stuff that they made hip hop on, they're made is what they made techno on, like they're
the
making hip
808s and
hop on the 808s
909s.
and stuff. And it turned
A lot of I mean that's kind of how I got attached to techno is I'm like I used to, nobody listens to techno and then I actually heard techno I'm like this is actually so close to hip hop it's a natural progression for me.
Yes.
yeah.
It's getting into a little bit less lyrics. There's a lot of new beats for it, dance music because we're in the club. This is the
Mm-hmm.
current club scene. It's kind
Yep.
of caught the EDM and techno wave. The a lot of the new rappers, a lot of the new hip hop genre, it's heavily
Yeah.
techno and R and B.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
They've
because
taken a
man, there's that one guy. I hate playing this game, especially if I'm being recorded. But
It's all right. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't because a lot of these. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't know half these dudes now.
Right.
oh, I know, like new music blows my mind. Like I tried to listen, like it's so funny because I listen to Post Malone a lot. Like
Hmm.
for new music wise, I like Post.
Well, it's every he. I mean, he's everywhere. He's got a nice style.
Yeah,
That's
and like you could say
it
it's kind
works.
of popish, but I don't know. Like I just at this point
I
in my
do
life,
notice I do
I'm
notice when I listen
definitely
to some of his more off, like I've yet to stumble across one that um
White
like
Iverson's the one that did it for me, man. Like I don't know what it is about that song. It's because it's almost like with every artist, their
oh
first
dude,
one, they put
That's the first one I
it's
heard.
when they were
dude,
nothing.
the first time I heard wow, I was like just
Yeah,
dude,
that one goes
That song,
hard.
well,
I
and
was
just
in I was jamming that shit,
even the
dude.
one off the Spider-Man soundtrack, he could probably literally quit music right now, and just from the song off the Spider-Man, the Sunflower.
Yeah,
He,
my
Hmm.
boy wants to come and do it on the podcast. He wants to sing it, he said.
oh yeah, in like I don't know. Post is just funny because like he doesn't care about appearance. Clearly,
Clearly,
he doesn't care what you think about him. I mean,
No.
he's sponsored by Doritos and Bud Light. Them are two really awesome things.
he
Yeah.
doesn't want to like act rich or nothing like
Yeah,
that. He
yeah,
wants to
he's
do that
like
shit
the dude will
Yeah.
show up in a pair of pants that like nobody else would ever wear.
Right.
because it's
Like,
probably the easiest shit in the world. Like he's like, you know, I'm gonna keep my overhead low. He's
yeah, like
probably super caked up because it doesn't look like he buys new clothes.
so
Right.
I ended up getting Spotify because the Eminem Kamikaze CD came out, and at the time, I hadn't been in love with like I haven't had the urge to where I needed this album. Like I have to hear it. I'm trying. I'm reaching. Nothing's like they're giving me like one song, but nothing else. And so I got
This is
Spotify.
the latest album, or no?
No, that was the one
No.
before.
All right.
And so this is where I'm gonna profess my love to Spotify big time because I got the Spotify premium, listened to the album so many times, in love.
Hmm.
Well, then having it for like I'm going on my third year of having it, being spoiled with like the last Post Malone album that came out, they did an extended version of it where he's actually talking about the album and talking about, you know, where like why he's making these tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so awesome to me. I've never felt that off an album before where like the artist is like telling you about the song before they do it. And then like for instance this last Eminem that came out, I woke up at 3 in the morning and I'm like, M just dropped a CD at midnight. Listen to it before, you know, like
And we've talked about it on other
I
podcasts
listen.
too.
You know, I show up to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and everyone's like, "Oh, how was your morning?" I'm like, "Dude, I just listened to the new Eminem, and there's like with me, I'm never gonna give you a full opinion on something when I've only listened to it once, but there's like the new Eminem. There's like 6 songs in a row that like I just thrive off of.
Well, dude,
Like
that's
that
the
one with the Royce the 5'9", like,
yes, that's my jam.
and that starts into it. You know, like then like that stepdad song was a little weird, but like I
Yep,
like that.
we talked about that same
One of
exact
those
shit.
kind of nights that I think Eminem and Ed Sheeran together are are pretty badass. I like that River song, but the one they just did with them, and then that song with Juice World, he like
So music to be murdered by.
yeah.
So it's we kind of been keep going on with that Spotify theme. It's the technology change. How you, Andy, like you like to stay up on it. We're spoiled
So
with music because we get
you
it
know
all.
what? I guess I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, and this, I guess this just kind of popped in my mind for Forrest. So, um, I know that you're not playing out as much right now, so you're concentrating on family and work and stuff. So, Spotify being like one of your main places to go to, that has pretty much filled your full music gap, right? You're not buying any music. Are you?
No,
You're not buying any, right?
no,
I don't think anybody is anymore
See, that's
because you could get the whole, like he said, that album dropped at midnight. He
and
wakes up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He's by the
I
time you get to work, you listen to the whole thing.
I already listened to the album 3 times the first day it was even available
It's like,
to
yeah,
the
you didn't
public.
have to go to like remember how we used to have to go wait for it,
Well,
oh yeah.
read it about it
and
in whatever magazine.
I only had one bitch about Spotify, and then I talked to Brandon and I got some more info on it because I was like, it trips me out. I'm searching for Jay Z. I can't find no Jay Z. Like you will get like a couple tracks he's featured
You
on,
can find it now.
but he started his own called Title.
Oh yeah.
So he
Mhm.
took his music from Spotify. Well, when he just turned 50, he gave his music back to Spotify and was like, "Yo, you guys can."
Yep,
I have
all
been
the
playing so much Jay Z lately; it's been out of
Really?
this world because, like, I, you know, to someone who doesn't really know hip hop or like, oh, I don't like Jay Z. It's like you go to This Is Jay Z and just flick it. Just you will be in shock, dude. He has done so many
Right.
awesome songs
Right.
and like I feel like
well,
Jay
that was our
Z's.
DJ Prime. That was our when we were DJing. We had his career. It's kind of like the Kobe Bryant thing for a lot of basketball fans.
Yeah, I
We were
guess.
kids when Kobe Bryant started balling.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that kind of shit affected a lot of folks when
Dude,
and R.I.P. Kobe, R.I.P. Gianna, and all the people that died in that helicopter crash. But we grew up with this, so like when we have the music, when you're on Spotify, this is middle school, this is high school. We have stories
dude,
celebrating
I'm
buying
talking.
CDs.
Oh man, we could just sit here and pull out just Jay Z tracks that like meant something to us. Like, just the obvious one. Hard Knock Life. I can remember when we were first playing that shit. That was like
Oh yeah.
a big deal. And then I always played the
This
one.
your boy.
I always played. That's right. We drop hits. Now tell me, how nasty do you get? All the way
Away
from
from
the
the hood
hood
to
to
the
the neck
back of
of
the
the wood.
yeah the
I'll be too.
Yeah, with Foxy Brown.
yeah
Foxy
Foxy
Brown.
yeah Foxy
That's what.
Brown.
Well,
Damn
like
yeah
one of the
man.
first Jay Z songs I love was off that Nutty Professor soundtrack.
What was it?
Oh
Ain't
shit, hold
no.
on. That's also
Oh
off of
God.
Reasonable Doubt too. Dun,
Yeah,
dun,
cause
dun, 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 dun,
yeah, that
dun,
beat
dun, dun,
was.
dun. And
I
that's all we can give you for free because we're probably gonna get that shit pulled if we play any more of it.
Uh,
I'll fuck up the whole podcast.
when we were playing some college parties and stuff, I was just rocking the doors off with H to the Izzo.
Oh yeah, H to the Izzo, and then like, you know, like Ludacris, man, he's another solid artist.
I told him the story about coming through that parade playing like Throw Them Bows, and you and Dave were in the crowd.
Oh man,
the importance of having edited versions.
Yes. Well, and we had a generator hooked to the trailer and DJing off it in a parade. Like,
that was good, man.
That was good stuff. That was good stuff. But Ludacris, man, he's had so many big hits, dude, and I just
2000, yeah. Started it off back for the first time.
Back for the first time, dude. Your Fantasy. I mean, like that was my track for so long.
That was like dirty hip hop for the club, man.
And we
I got in trouble for playing Hoe at the Wayside.
Yeah, we did. We got. we were playing the one time when we got a major complaint. It was some Little John song, and it was like there was a lot of swear words in that one.
And now now they're playing like, I don't give a fuck about you.
That might actually still be cleaner than that Little John song.
Yeah, I remember the one night when we pulled that out of nowhere and had the whole party just erupted, and then we ended up throwing Kanye Fade in there.
No, that was how we came out. We came out to Kanye Fade,
and so many people hadn't even heard the song yet. And that they're like looking at us like
Bissonette started just hammering the blackouts, and we just kept dragging it out, affecting it. Your love is fading, and just I can remember just the vibe was just fire,
Oh,
we had
dude,
a packed house.
We had it packed because we played the Big Sean also. And
your love is fading. That was good, man.
I think that I'm not trying to steal the smoke, but I think I was like, we should play this song.
I think you might have been. I think you actually might have introduced me to the track now that you mention it.
Well, I know I showed you all the video. I was like, wow, that Tiani.
Tiana Taylor?
Yeah, oh my gosh. She's beautiful.
Yep, Mrs. Shumpert. Now she's somebody's wife. So.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. Somebody who I always liked that has been very controversial, and I've even caught flack for being a fan of or even liking, and I'm going to continue to be a fan and like anyway, no matter how big
Please
of it.
Don't say R. Kelly. Please don't say R. Kelly. Please don't say R. Kelly.
It's definitely not R. Kelly.
Sweet.
But
we can stay on.
He can be a dickbag, but at the same time, man, I just can't take all those tracks that I've loved and just not, for me, Kanye West, there's just so many tracks to me. Like, dude, I can remember when I first realized that he was spitting through the wires of his jaw wired shut, that was like a big deal to me,
Agreed.
Agreed.
I have not canceled Kanye as much as I'm gonna get a whole bunch of shit in my mentions for this because I talked about it on my podcast too.
One day, me and Brandon were talking about concerts, and we found out that we both had went to that Glow in the Dark tour.
That's what it was called, Glow in the Dark tour.
I still have a book of it from the show, the Kanye West book. I still got that.
That was right around.
Oh, you know what? I gave mine to my
graduation.
Mom. I think my mom has it.
Yeah, and like we've seen so many hip hop artists, and the one thing that Kanye did that no other hip hop artist has ever done, he was solo on the stage. The whole it wasn't just loving his music; he made it a show.
It was,
and
it was like
I was blown.
Touching. It was like
it was right after his mom died.
Romantic,
and he sang,
man.
Hey,
yeah, he
Mom.
cried, man.
And dude, I was blown away.
Dude,
best hip hop.
We stole one of his moves. We stole one of his moves, or maybe he stole one of our moves. I don't know. 3/4 of the way through the night, that motherfucker turned on every single light in the place and played Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
Well, in that time I went to Vegas, I went to Vegas, and Andy's like, man, do your research when you're out there, see what gear they're using, what songs are the hottest. And of course I did my research. I went hard. I went real hard.
For the team.
Real hard for the team. Stayed there 2 nights. Didn't even mess up my bed. That's why I had to choose the calm down life. But I came back and I'm like, Andy, you know, we're playing the same shit and we're on the same page as them. And I'm like, I'm gonna tell you, dude, hands down, most electrifying moment of the whole weekend. They did the same thing. They kicked on all the regular lighting, and they played "Don't Stop Believin'." And like that song, everyone knows all the lyrics to it.
It's
So
got to be at this point like an unofficial American jam.
Yeah.
I
Like
feel that way.
Do you think
No
it's
matter what generation you hit it in, you can play that
I
song
feel
and
that
somebody will
that
fuck
is,
with that.
I feel that is very good way to say
As
it.
much
you
as I
think-
hate that, because
do you,
we
do you
are
think
Michigan
it's just
kids,
a
so at
Michigan
least we
thing?
get.
Is it just?
No,
I don't think it is.
Because I was in Vegas, dude, and
Right,
everyone
yeah,
was
right.
freaking out over it.
I heard
like-
that shit in Europe. I'm like, what y'all know about South Detroit?
Yeah.
Get
And the
all
fucked up
defensive
part
about it like I'm
is
from
that-
8 Mile. 8 Mile,
There-
a.k.a. Midland.
But there ain't even a South Detroit because that would actually be the river or
Right.
Windsor,
Yep. Canada.
Canada. Oh man, so we went to Canada one time, and that was lit. Like back when 19-year-olds could drink. We were 21 at the
At
time.
the strip clubs. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Me
I
and
never made
Windsor.
it to any of those. And then
We didn't go-
I found my
did
way
we
around
ever
those.
go?
Me, you, and AJ and Kurt when we went to see Eminem the first time when it was the Anger Management tour. It was Papa Roach, the Executioners, Exhibit,
Yep.
Ludacris, Move Bitch, Get Out the Way was his hottest song, and then Eminem. And we went down for the weekend, and we went across the border in Kurt's Cavalier,
I went for the Executioners.
and all the
Okay,
bouncers
okay.
were messing with AJ because he's huge.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
we came back across, and we were like throwing beer bottles out the window that night.
Oh, jeez, that wasn't me.
You guys are
And then
delinquents.
the messed up part was Kurt's car was parked right there, and almost all of his brand new car.
We got too late and fucked up our boy's car.
One last story that I think we should touch, and something that's always been a little bit something that stood out to me is very pivotal in my is the time that your dad took us all to Rage Against the Machine.
We were
Wait,
were
your
you,
dad took you guys to Rage Against Me?
Yeah.
Man, I did not win in this lottery of parents.
Yeah. So
Shut up.
when I were you 18? You had to be
Oh,
18.
God,
My
Yeah,
dad
you
broke
were
my
18.
Rage
I
CD.
think I was 19, and my dad passed away in like a while back, but this was like the last big thing that we did together, and he bought 12 tickets. We got a limo bus, went partied hard, and Gangstar opened for him. I've never really been a Gangstar fan. He's just all right, but then
I'm a Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
no, I know
This would have been the dopest show ever.
I don't
for me.
remember. I didn't remember the gangster part. I'm sorry.
He was good, but we weren't. I don't know, like.
'Cause you get Guru and DJ Premier. Okay, for a lot of people, that is an acquired taste. I am an East Coast hip hop head, so when
Yeah.
you Gangstar
And Rage at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and
I probably wasn't even old enough to go.
It was
Oh, no,
wild. The lighting was awesome.
It was crazy because there was one point where, like, everyone must have met in the bowl and then just rushed the floor, dude. And they looked like fucking ants. Like, people were crawling on the wall. So, like, we left when we were leaving this concert, dude. Motherfuckers' shirts are ripped off from fucking blood, black eyes, but there wasn't like everyone was like, ah, because dude, I mean,
Just getting hyped for the
just
show.
listening to Rage Against the Machine is just so amazing.
We had the VHS. You know, we
Oh,
had
man,
all
we
the
had-
VHSs.
And so we had all sorts of VHS tapes. We had Rage. We had CB4.
Yeah.
Dude, we watched CB4 like
Oh my
so
God,
much.
so
like
many
we
times.
both know all the raps. from it.
Did
and
we already
to
talk
spit.
about this at
I,
all?
we can
No.
Oh
spit the
my
raps
god,
at
dude! We watched
any time.
CB4 so many freaking times, dude.
But so many times that he actually got the blue Carhartt jacket that Gusto wore. He had it for years.
And I'll still catch myself, like, if I have just a few dollars that I'm counting, I'll still catch myself, like, counting like this, like Gusto.
Go, go, go! Everything go!
If you can't trust me, you can't trust us.
That shit is wild.
Oh, but I forget where I was going with all of it. Oh, the VHSs. We had like some Sublime ones.
I was telling them how you got, how you'd skip school and do like mixtape VHS bomb
Oh,
videos.
dude, I recorded every video off MTV.
Yup.
He recorded some over his brother's like birth.
I did. I did.
That's savage.
That shit had. I didn't do it on purpose. I probably did do it on purpose, but
No,
that was
so,
when
like,
you just didn't care pulling them out the.
So like back to like burning the CDs, and me and Andy always like people always came to us about music and whatnot because we were burning CDs like we were like first in the game burning them.
every DJ that came up when we had to come up had to be
to
doing
jump into it.
mixtapes, had to be
Well,
burning people custom CDs.
We would make because back then not every car had a CD player, so we had to make tapes. And man, I was making a tape one time, and all of a sudden CD starts scratching, and I hit pause, and I'm like, motherfucker! I'm so mad because
It scratched out for a while. It scratched out.
So-
Let's say 50. Let's say 15
Oh, so
skips.
you can't even use it.
So
It's 15 skips into the-
I hit rewind. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fix this. I hit rewind, and I was gonna rewind it all the way and just start the track over, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna start recording, and like,
So he knew that we had another. Oh, there's the heater.
so we had,
Let's break. Let's take a break.
All right.
and we were making a lot of mixtapes because everyone really was
You know what?
interested in
You know
our
what?
music too.
As I think about it a little bit though, I think it started from
but
I think you had a couple of CDs that you knew were fucked up. I think you had like a B-roll of CDs.
yeah, and the
so
song
I think you
was
were
actually
I
like
think you were kind of pulling off your
it
B-roll.
was a Tupac song, and it started skipping, and I rewound it, and it was still skipping, and I'm like, I'm just gonna start it right here because I didn't want to redo the whole track, and I started right there, and it ended up just flowing together like a DJ mix.
No, I'm pretty sure you fucking found a second track.
That
that
it was skipping,
skipping.
and it came out
The
of
second skip one was skipping and came out of it, and you knew it.
it. Yeah.
And so you found that one, and then so you took a few out of skips into the one, and a few skips into the next one, and banged them together. And like
Everyone was freaking out. Like how
every
the fuck
time
did you
someone
do
heard
that?
it, they're freaking out. Okay, no. So all right, now I remember something that I really wanted to talk about. So yeah, the first coolest DJ move ever goes to Forrest.
Oh man.
I mean, okay, we
were faded at this party.
Yeah, this was
actually out near Jam, Michigan.
This was a very late after party, very undisclosed location, very elite, blah.
Out near Jam, Michigan. So
Yeah.
if anyone knows anything, like we were out
And
in
so
Farm Nation.
So we wound up using the
it was that tower
I used
with an amp, dual CD trays.
James, when we played with Chingy, when Chingy came to the casino,
Mm-hmm.
your boy.
What up, Chingy?
You're gonna get that on record as Chingy's my boy.
And
you take one picture, now he's your homeboy for life.
For sure. Me and Seth Chocolate, what up, though?
But yeah, where are we going with that?
That
So-
party out.
So even up there, I dropped it. The very beginning of Country Grammar
Where
starts
it's like,
boom, 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 hot shit.
So I'm all fucked up, and we're at this party, and the system was just rocking this old farmhouse, man, hardcore. And like a couple of times,
And it was late. Everybody was vibing.
I was actually
We'd already
so
done all
messed
the
up.
dirt.
I thought I had it on cue. I thought I was listening to it in my headphones, and I wasn't. I was actually throwing it
Yeah.
out to the party. But like the messed up
And
part
so we
was-
hear boom, 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 hot shit at just the right spot.
and then like then I realized I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, and that sounded good.
So it comes around to that break again, and boom,
And
boom,
I
boom,
throw it
hot
up,
shit.
and I pulled it out, and everyone's
come
looking down like hallways and stuff. They're like,
What the
what
fuck
the
was
fuck?
that?
And so I'm like going with it harder again. I'm like, boom, boom, and so like the part of the song that was playing was like
I
the
don't
bass
remember,
wasn't
dude.
that good, and so when I was bringing this in, it was just rumbling the whole house. Everyone was freaking out, and so that like we already knew we wanted to do cool shit before that, but that was like the first one that we like kind of stumbled into, and like
Yeah, our equipment was real limited, but
oh yeah,
because
because
that
it was
like
two
a,
CD decks. It was like it.
you know, you could just cue up the beginning of that track. It had the trick right at the beginning. You know, you could cue it from the front.
And
You know,
and that country grammar album was game changer a lot. Like I remember because I was at the time we were doing cable. My cable truck only had a tape player, and like I only had front speakers that worked in that thing, and there was so much dust that when I was bumping like EI or something off of that CD, I'm like watching the dust fly off my speakers. I'm like, yeah, that shit's bumping.
well, dude, that's what was crucial.
But I was working at Shooters. I was a bar back at this
Yeah,
bar, and like I was making good enough money at my other job, but this job was fun, man. Like it was a 21 and up club. I was like 20, and I was stocking all the beer. Well, all these cooks would be jamming.
and it was the hot spot.
Yeah, and it was the hottest spot at the time, and all these cooks were jamming out music every day, and I'm like, dude, I have a tape out in my truck that would blow you guys away, and they're looking at me like,
They thought this DJ that they had just walked on fucking water.
well, and I was even talking to that DJ all the time too, and I was telling him what I knew was the hot stuff. So I went out. I'm like, you know, I'll go out to my truck right now, and I'm bringing this mixtape. I brought in this mixtape, and I'm going out. I'm doing my thing, and I come back in, and everyone is like, fucking partying and shit, and they're like, dude, we need another one. We need another one. This is awesome. Next thing you know, I like the DJ there was playing songs that he had heard in the kitchen, and
Yeah.
it was so
Biting your mixes, man. Biting your mixes. Can't protect your mixes anymore.
no.
Well, dude,
we had other mixes that
We
were
have Shazam now.
Well, that was something that was really great for me and James. We got to like relive this awesome nostalgia type moment because we did two different events. One was where it was like a Snoop Dogg, uh,
Oh, I didn't get into nearly the shit that
Warren
I got.
G, and who else?
It's like Snoop Dogg, Warren G, Ice Cube.
Yep. And then the other one was
Wasn't it
Nelly.
Oh, the other one was Nelly. No, not Nelly. It was
Yeah, it was
Murphy.
Nelly,
No, it was Nelly. It was
Nelly,
Nelly.
St. Lunatics.
St.
or
Louis.
something?
Yeah, it was the St.
Nelly,
Lunatics.
Murphy Lee, and Chingy.
And
Yeah,
Ching.
that's St. Louis.
And we only got
And
Chingy.
but it was so cool because dude, we got to drop EI in the club and everyone go nuts again. You know, like how
Yeah.
long has
Oh,
it been
dude.
since we've been
EI
able to
was-
do that,
yeah.
dude? You know, and like that was cool, man. And then like the Snoop Dogg one, dude, that was such a proper, that was such a great fit for us because like that was shit we like listened to on the school bus. You know, that was like shit that we were like in love with. You
the
know,
most influential.
yeah, like we really like.
this turned me this way.
Yeah, we like lived that music at one time, you know.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and to give somebody the spot that has that passion towards that music, that is like that's that awesome, that's that event promoter, that's that yeah, that's that hustler promoter. That's that top-notch promoter. That's why you can't
That's
fuck
why I
with a
will
badass
not
person.
play Taylor Swift when you ask me to. Now I was about to say a bad word.
Before you say a bad word, should we do a fireball?
If we must.
I always do a fireball.
Ugh.
So the mini fireballs are my favorite. I guess
Man, says who? Who?
I guess I would say because of the
I'm
size.
mad right now.
The size is perfect for me.
What's your professional opinion? It's the size that does it for you.
The size that does it for me. So this 50 milliliter, perfect for my mouth when I take all of it. Ooh. And spill it on myself. But
Pause.
normally I pour it all in, and it's like a bigger shot than I would normally take, and I feel like I push the bar a little more by. Cheers, cheers, cheers.
I don't really want to do this.
Oh,
The perfect malt.
yeah.
So anyone watching this, you could do a test. I guarantee you take one of these whole shots, it's bigger than what you would take as a drink out of a fifth. I guarantee it. Even the normal shot glass at home. I've done the research. I've already done the homework. Just know the facts.
I'm gonna tell you for sure. If someone ever says,
You've done the research involving drinking Fireball.
or
I
if they
took the
say
shot
that,
glasses at home, it doesn't even compare.
yeah, if someone says
Perfect
trust
amount.
me, I immediately trust them.
Well,
I just
things
do.
I know I don't usually mess up on. Clear that.
Let's just clear that up.
That's a famous line by Aaron Elvord.
That's a good one.
He one day he was telling us a story, and we were like questioning his knowledge on it, and he basically told us right then and there things I know.
He backpedaled for a second, then he's
I
like,
don't
"Fuck
mess
that!
up
I ain't
on."
even backpedaling. Things I know I don't mess up on."
And he was dead serious.
Hey, fair enough.
To
Dude,
this day, he's
I had
one
a
of the
good
most
quote. I had
hard-
a good quote from Austin the other day. Somebody had mentioned on more than one occasion, like a older relative or whatever, that Austin was making some pretty brash remarks about situations, as he would do, and
He was definitely electrifying.
and they made the comment that they had a bone to pick with Austin, and like the second time that he heard that, he said a world famous quote that I'll hold near and dear to my heart forever, and I'll always use. He said, "The next person that's got a bone to pick with me is getting their ass kicked."
I wholeheartedly co-sign that statement. I love that.
Yeah, and the funny part about it is he was always the dude that would be like, "You don't want none, you don't want none," and then
And it was the truth.
it was the truth because
didn't.
like the couple times that he finally had enough of those people, he would tie him up in a knot. And
Unleashed.
I remember when we were young, and he was like, he was just getting out of high school or whatever, and we were at your old house on Middle Road, and something happened. We started like nudging each other, and we started wrestling. And I was already scared of him because he's like a badass wrestler, and I've watched a million of his matches, and now we're both grown, and for some odd reason I like ended up getting on top. It was me, him, and Billy Dopp, and I got on top of him, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm done." And like he's starting to get serious, and I'm like, "No, like
I quit.
we are done now." Like I had him like stuck for a second, and I knew he was just.
Oh, you can't quit now.
Oh, I was done because I knew it was gonna be just ugly after that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the dude was just so charismatic, and he was always like the first dude on the dance floor, and he was always linking people up and getting people to come and party. And
Oh man, he like
689 was
he fought the
me,
hardest.
Forrest Austin.
Yeah,
he
he
fought
fought
the hardest. He dug in the trenches,
Oh
all
gosh.
the time. And he did good. He was.
I remember one of the most famous ones. We were all fucked up, and it might have been like his birthday or something. And we went to Westtown, and he come flying out the gate and started crip walking, and hit a puddle like someone just spilled a drink. Dude's
Both feet just
were
slip
like
right out from
all
underneath.
the way up in the air. He went down like a ton of bricks.
Right
He
on his back.
popped up off the ground.
He popped back up like
so
it was,
fast, like it never even happened.
You gotta play it off. You gotta play it off.
Oh, he
it was
played
almost
up.
like it was part of a move or something.
It looked like he did the worm for a second and came up out of it. Like it was nuts.
It was.
And we were like, "Yo, good recovery,
Yeah.
man."
It was an extremely athletic recovery.
Oh gosh, a normal person would probably have to go to rehab after that, like to fix their muscles. Cause
And I think at any point in time he could have just got behind the decks and been a DJ. He had just a sick ear for music. Like
oh my,
he was like all the time he'd pull a track for me. Like I can even still pull like out of the stuff that I play. There's seriously like 6 tracks that he like even led me on that I still play to this day.
He was our number one fan, first and foremost, and he was number one on our team. And like there was so many nights where, like, of course, Austin is an Elvord trait running behind, and like he's bringing like a bunch of people that have to be there because people want to hang out with those people, and so like he would finally show up and the night would just flip. It would be
He's
like
always late bringing the party.
yeah, and like the party would then show up. Austin would have the vibe just to a peak, and now because
I seriously think and I know he's done this before. He'd straight up like let everybody know what was going on. Let everybody, let them hear about it. Not push it real hard, and then find out where they were all at hanging out before the fucking party, before our party, and then he would fucking go there and he would strong arm every motherfucker there,
and they would all
and make them all come to the fucking club.
He seemed like a dude that would just tell you like, "Yo, come on and go with me," and you would go.
No, he was like a lion.
You go.
He was like he would come up in your party and he'd be like, "Look, you guys are all come on," and everyone would be like, "All right," and like there was multiple times we even would, because I had the S4, and so when we would tear down,
no one knows what that is. So
the
phone.
No, the old control.
Okay.
It was a controller that we had. It was a Native Instruments tractor.
Native Instruments
S4, so it was
first
a 4-deck
was one of the first big cool ass controllers that really jumped into the market. It was the S4.
We
this was
changed
MK1.
our whole game.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get into what you guys were using.
Yeah,
we're gonna get into that.
That was what really.
Are we doing that now? Are we doing this now? Because this is rabbit hole.
Well, where were we going with it? Like.
We're wrapping up the tail end of Austin. We're gonna save that for another time.
That's a different time. But oh no. So we had like our bigger setup. Like
we'll save the gear story for a little bit farther down because I'll do some homework and I'll have some of it ready.
Mm-hmm. We graduated from the gear, and the S4 was like at that time a backup. So we were solid at every given moment. Say something wasn't working out with the decks, or everything always went through like the zone.
Hold on. You just sparked something huge that I want to talk about. Okay, so all throughout time we followed some really cool cats from Detroit. As time went on, we've seen a lot of the people that they admired and that they looked up to, and people that they were friends with, and there were so many times that like we'd go to movement and we would think about like, what's the biggest, coolest party? Yeah. And honestly, that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, because
those are the worst, because everyone's there.
Go to one of those. Go to one, and meet your friends there and stuff, and have fun. It's awesome. It is. It really is. But I kid you not, if you find some weird, obscure, off the beaten path.
The 1 year was it 2010? That's all we did.
We
went to the nothing but after parties
or outskirt ones,
and it was all outskirt ones, and that was when we were into that like "Let Me Ride" song. Who in the fuck did that track? Was it Hot Since '82?
No, this was before that. Long before that.
Oh, so this was not Dr. Dre and
no, this was full on straight up Detroit shit.
Now you just took me into it. Now you just took me into another story. No, let me go back to this story. Okay. Because this story actually means a lot to me, and so I really want to get this. I really want to get this out there. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but shifting gears from talking about how awesome Austin was and how pivotal he was.
Pivotal. That's gonna be our word. If y'all use that shit, we're gonna sue you. It's copyright.
Yeah, because Ain't nobody got like that.
He's pivotal.
No, but like we were on the influence of the gear and the hot parties.
Yeah, and so something that meant a lot to me, or something that really kicked my ass a lot, that I'll always like think about is, so our homies down there hung out with these cool cats. The year that we went to just a bunch of outskirt parties, those guys were throwing some parties, and they had a guy come out there that they had come out several times.
I know where this is going. This dude is so awesome.
And dude, they brought out this cat. I'm pretty sure he was from like San Francisco at the time, and his name's Clint Stewart. And I think he was like living in Berlin, or something along those lines. UK,
I think it's something like that. And so we were at that rooftop party, right?
No, so rewind that shit.
Oh.
So we our homies are throwing this party off the beaten path, but they had it all set up where there was a school bus that would shuttle you from
movement
to the bar and back, like every what?
I think it was rolling every half hour.
Every half hour, this bus goes back and forth from this bar to the, so that was cool,
And like these dudes played like a little more laid back, like,
I don't want to say disc. What was the name of that
like,
shit? That
kind of like a deep house discotheque.
What was that shit Matt Abbott and those guys were calling it?
Oh man, that Secrets track is still one of my favorites of all
fuck.
time. That was from.
So don't get my mind off.
2010?
Save that. Don't get my mind off that. So
I still have that CD, by the way.
So they had this like really sexy sound to it. I don't want to say it was disco. I don't want to say it was techno. It was in between. It just was sexy, and it was good.
It was so fucking good.
And so they bring this cat out, Clint Stewart. Dude, Clint Stewart is playing he played at the festival, right? Did he?
Yeah, he played the festival.
He played the festival.
He played the party, the festival,
and he's
and
playing
then he played another party.
And then he's playing he's playing their day party, and he's playing the festival, and then he's playing one of the biggest parties of the night.
And we went to all three of these parties.
We went to all of them. And so
like
we wind up going to this one.
$400 invested in just after hour parties.
Damn.
That year.
We go to this party and we see him, dude, and dude, he shows up with just a Tractor Control X1. That's the only controller he has.
X1.
Dude. Just the X1.
Just one.
That's it, bro.
Because you can do 2 decks off.
All he did is plug it in to control tractor and did the rest on the mixer. The rest was all done on his own mixer. And it was just, dude, to see a guy come from,
Berlin,
another country, the dude's going all over the world playing.
And he's taking like a $200 controller with him. That's all he's
and a laptop, and he's just cleaning house. So first I realize he's the truth when he plays at the day party that we go to. Smashes it out of the park.
Yeah,
totally awesome.
This was
drops this track that I'll never forget. It was the first time I ever heard of Duke Dumont. He was the first person to ever play Duke Dumont. He played Duke Dumont like 4 years before I ever heard of him.
Favorite tracks of all time.
And you'll love it. It's that one I told you about where it's a bunch of Biggie cuts, and it's not really him saying anything. It's almost like him saying some.
They're
pieces
just cutting pieces and
putting it together, and it's so fly.
It's genius shit.
It is
badass.
So anyway, that night he plays. I'm pretty sure it was the React Detroit party.
But it was.
Dude, they oversold the tickets on that party. Dude, there was like there was a couple hundred people in line, man. People that had tickets.
There was like 10 artists at one party that were all fucking top at this.
Move your mic just a little bit closer.
All these, this one party had, like, you would look at the lineup and they had like 4 different spots, but the rooftop spot had Maceo Plex was going to be out there.
Maceo Plex was playing there.
Who was that chick?
Magna.
And her controller.
So this is the whole story. So that night at the main party here, I forget what it was freaking the name of the place was called, but
it was like a rooftop, and
it was a rooftop waterfalls.
They were across this like hole, like so you couldn't even get to them. They were on like their own.
So the punchline of the whole fucking thing is, Clint Stewart is on at that party, dude. We already heard him play earlier than at that day. At the party, he crushes it. I'm talking at this party, he crushes it. He kills his set. Dude shows up again with just a computer in the freaking in an X1.
Magna comes on.
They go to set Magna up, and as they're setting her up, she's using these new at the time they were
It was
new.
a new Pioneer.
No, the new
Allen Heath.
Allen Heath controllers. They're called like K2s or whatever.
Her controller's fucked up.
They couldn't recognize. Her computer wouldn't recognize her controllers. Dude, her and her tech guy sat there for like, I watched him stress out for like easily.
Well, and they still had Clint playing.
So easily for a half hour. And finally, they look over at him and they give him the sign like, hey, bro.
Like, keep going.
I'm fucked. And dude, he just fucking looks over, gives him the nod. And that fucker smashes out a whole nother set.
And like, so we've listened to him all fucking day, and he's not.
And
like,
he just
there's only one
knocked
song
it out
he
of the
played
park.
Like a couple times.
Very, very impressive to see a dude just show up with the, bare bones and just fucking knock it out of the park. And especially that time, you know what I mean? It was like, then when that was a cool time. I personally liked.
Oh, that was one.
I liked music around then.
That was one of the funnest years we had.
Well, I really liked music around then because not everybody DJ'd with the same equipment, and so there was always this big like.
Oh yeah, because
there's this big changeover.
Yeah, because like Serato
and shit
wasn't,
can fuck up,
Like, Serato wasn't the holy grail at the time because Houghton and quite a
CDJs weren't the holy grail at the time either,
No.
But I mean, over time it was just inevitable.
I mean, CDJs were definitely coming more into it, but yeah, that party was just nuts.
Cause yeah, going back to how Andy is super heavy with the CDJs, cause we get into it. It's just like, hey man, like how heavy is the CDJs? And he's definitely preaching the CDJ lifestyle.
The CDJ, like in that aspect, it's almost like like you're going to a whole nother dedication of your art. Like,
well, what it comes
because like you can do stuff on a lesser expensive equipment, but when you're starting to get
but it plays CDs. Like I guess a theme that we would get from a lot of what we were talking about today is the fact that when you guys were really getting started, you were rocking shit out on CDs.
Oh.
So having those data CDs, having the actual CD copies of a lot of the good shit that you were trying to get a hold of. I can't even tell you how many
times the pages were being flipped. Like,
we
were flip artists, bro. Like, we'd have to start. We were setting up our books a certain way, and like.
And the CDJs still play them. So it almost sounds like what I'm getting from this conversation is. But you are absolutely right. You need those because it has almost every format.
Yeah, and look now, somebody like Clint Stewart doesn't have to carry around a X1. He doesn't have to carry a laptop.
Yeah, he could carry a flash drive.
He could carry a flash drive, and then
but the bad part is you lose a flash drive, you lost everything.
Well, yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
And I've lost a few flash drives from that.
Oh, that's for sure. But the number one thing that it comes down to, no matter what you throw into it, whether it comes to money or accessibility or any of it, what it comes down to is all the major nightclubs all around the world have that sitting in the DJ booth. And so you either can operate it or you can't. That's step one, Can you operate that rig? If you can't, if you don't have it, you don't put your hands on it, you don't know it.
If you're going to be a big time travel DJ, you need to be fluent in. If you're fluent in that, you don't even take.
And then the next thing too is any DJ that you bring in, that's
a reputable,
a next level DJ. Any of those guys, that's what is going to be on their rider, And so now you're renting that, or.
No, and what I was kind of meaning, like about like our dedication, like to it, like when we were using what you could say is garbage equipment, like we were like as we got more serious into it, we got more serious into our equipment also too. Like everything kind of shifted gears with like, and we were going for more of like because we were never like a scratch artist. We were always we did all of our main work on the EQ. And so like
And before that, it was just basically slams. You know.
we did slams before that. So when we graduated,
when we
in
had
our
CD decks,
when we started becoming better DJs, we needed like that's when we went to the Allen Heath mixer because that's where we did a lot of our work. But we were also
we're gonna do a
100%.
gear day too, and we'll talk about that. But like that is a mixer that'll just always hold a place in my heart. That's why like going from the Allen Heath, the Zone 92, and then now playing on the DJM 900 Nexus 2, going from the 4-band EQ to the 3-band EQ, it hurts just a little bit. I miss that 4-band EQ. So to see that new like Frankenstein Pioneer mixer,
six channels.
that 6-channel one, that thing is,
It's excessive.
It's excessive, but it's
until
sexy.
you want it.
It's sexy as fuck.
Yeah, if you're running that,
especially the whole A and B Q, for each channel. Even that's massive.
Me scratch DJs. I need 2 channels, 1 and 2.
Dude, I will give you 2 channels. I'll give you 2 turntables and the crossfader. I just need those other 4 channels.
Keep telling people that. And we won't play the unnecessary equipment wars because obviously the standard is 4. All of the major mixer releases are giving you 4.
Well,
like now the new standard is going to be 6.
Well, everybody's laughing the whole time. They're like highlighting, okay, this is how big this mixer is, and this is how much most people use.
Yeah, like most people are definitely not going.
Pull that a little bit closer.
When those large festivals, though, they're going to use the multiple CDJs.
Well, it would be easier for a big
That's the
setup.
gospel he's preaching to me now.
Yeah, like Glowhard, that would be something they could invest in, and their setup would be much easier because if you're bringing another artist on, okay, this artist uses A and B, you use C and D, and
yeah, I mean
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 5 6.
But
but in the end, those big ones need to just be like, hey, look, this is the rig.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
But I mean, when you guys
especially because you're fucking with paint, like, dude, you're not gonna paint my CDJs,
right?
Well, here's my question: like, when you guys were really coming up, were you using more than 2 channels when you were running CDs to first start out with, or what? When you were,
I mean, we definitely had a moment where we were using a lot more channels, but like typically, we've always been like.
There was a while where we were running 4 decks a tractor, and we were using it all through the S4.
Well, and that was we could both have our hands on the situation, and it was nice because
But even most of the time, even when we did a tag set, did a duo set, did a back-to-back set, in most cases it would be just maybe the two decks were the main 2 decks you were mixing, and then occasionally
we would have other shit on.
We'd have like decks. Triggers or
X1
like something that
F1.
always makes you sound kind of cool if you can pull it in is like, and a trick that we could do on the S4 was the S4. We didn't pull up full decks on the view screen the whole time. And so if you could take a track that was dope and you kind of knew it pretty well, and you could drop that down into one of the decks, I don't think it's called 3 and 4. I think it's called C and D. If you could drop it into C and D and get that track playing and sync it, mix it, and then still elaborate on it as it played, then you could take your 2 main decks, A and B, and then that's when you could mix over top of it, and that's when it was a little bit sweeter. That's when you could land it, and the cool part was you didn't have to do a whole lot of prep. You could just do your basic,
Yeah, because you could
BPM
pull
scan.
8-beat loop down into C or D, and you could just have a badass bass line that you could be juggling around.
But then honestly, that's right about the time that we liked that shit, and we were just starting to do it, and we were just starting to enjoy it. I even brought in Machine a couple of times and did some live shit where I played some beats that I had made on machine, or I even made a couple of them live at a couple of shows. Just
So when you were doing that, was that controller based? Was that basically off of program? Like, I guess, and what, because originally when you were starting playing techno, I imagine you weren't doing any kind of live production straight from the rip. So that became, once the technology improved, that became something
so,
that you were using.
dude, there's a video floating around. There's this cell phone video my buddy Lazaro grabbed. It's clutch. When I first started really finding out how to like chop up machine and like uh machine is a software and a program and a hardware from Native Instruments, and it's a drum machine with 16 pads on it and full control over the software, all from the hardware. Bunch of knobs, bunch of buttons, bunch of sounds, sequencer, drum machine, pretty awesome. We where was I going with that part before I got trying to explain machine?
Lazaro.
Oh yeah, there's a part where we're in this frat house, and I took a bunch of like tracks that had like a almost like a solo of the like hook where it was just like solid beats, and I chopped it up on the pads of machine, and then like sometimes before I would play that track, I would sit there and juggle those beats for a minute on machine, and so I can remember having that one.
Was it a Drake track?
No, it was a freaking
Pitbull.
Immediately knew that was Pitbull as soon as he started singing that.
And so
It's like you cannot escape.
I could hammer that a little bit, and then I wasn't the best at getting it back over in, and so I just put an explosion, so I could bang it out, bang it out, bang it out, explode it, and then
Bring it back
and then
in.
slam it in at the right spot, and everybody was just like, "Oh, shut the fuck up,"
Yeah, because we did some shit up there that blew some motherfuckers' minds. Like,
There's a couple of good times that
we had a couple.
That sounds like a really fancy save, sir.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That
dude.
sounds like a save. That sounds like everybody else doesn't know what's going on, but you, sir, saved it.
So I had 4 of them, and they were all very similar to that one. I mean, very similar. And I would,
Wasn't
as I
Show
would
Me
mix,
Love one of them?
Show Me Love was
That
one of them.
I think that was the best.
Yeah,
like,
that-
I don't know, something about the Show
Yeah.
Me Love was like
The
one of my
yeah.
favorite tracks.
And so we had these 4, and then the video that he's got at this frat house is when I would always hit the explosion, and then I would go into that track. Well, this video he has is me doing all 4 of them back to back. Just going from the one, hitting the explosion, flipping the page, going to the next one, and then hitting the explosion, going to the next page. And so it's me rattling through all 4 of them. And Austin's in the background hyping all these frat boys and shit. It was fucking, it was solid,
Yeah. Yeah, because like Austin and Lazaro like knew each other, and that was kind of Austin, like kind of in a way.
Lazaro was the Red Bull rep for CMU, and he was getting us some solid gigs up there.
Anthony Lazaro?
Yeah.
Yeah. Small world.
Oh, man.
Small world.
Yeah, dude, he grew up down the road, man.
Yeah,
Central
he's from
Line.
the 689.
We were in the
I
same
did
school.
not know. I didn't know that he was from this area.
Yeah,
I
he's
thought he
from-
was like from Royal Oak or some shit like
Oh,
that.
yeah, man.
I mean, he's that fly.
Yeah, dude. He's the best, man.
So
Big
how are we
ups.
wrapping this up, gentlemen?
Yeah, man. I think this was solid. I got some other stories we should elaborate on another time.
Yeah, but
I'd love to dig into some of the old CD cases and look at the.
Yeah, because I need to know how y'all were managing to do a techno show in mid-Michigan off of CDs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those had to be hard as hell to come by. The
Yeah.
hip hop stuff may be a little bit easier, but
yeah,
Yep. We had to work it, it didn't come easy ever.
no, because like no matter what,
Even now, but you know what's cool? At least like now I see these other kids out there trying and hustling and giving it hell. That's really cool seeing it go down. There's a couple of them we gotta have come out and hang and do a set. There should probably only be a few more podcasts we have before we have some type of multi-cam or some more views.
So they can see our faces more.
Yeah, beautiful
I
shots.
don't
I
know
can
if
look
they
at
want
the
to see
camera.
this.
They
I
probably
know.
only got a profile this whole show of me.
I got
Just me
the dad
laughing.
bod. I got the 2020 dad bod.
And now the stage lights are eating me up. But yeah, man, that was a
No,
good
it
one.
was fun. I had a blast.
Hey
That was
man,
fun.
appreciate you
Thanks for
coming
Forrest,
out.
having
thanks
me
for
on.
coming out, man.
Yeah, I'll do it again. You know it.
Mad love, dude.
I got that gift of gab.
Yeah, we had to do that
Oh,
again.
and so many stories. I mean, we ain't got enough
There's a lot.
terabytes right now.
Yeah.
We'll have to edit some stuff, figure out some more things.
Yeah, and
What
I
to
don't think
say.
it's all a pointless story either. I think it all has some kind of relation
No,
to
because,
the
I
way
mean-
that music kind of makes people
Well, it's funny because like when we
associate.
were doing it, it was like when rock and roll first came out, people were treating us like complete shit over it all
Yeah.
the time, and
Yeah.
we were always saying like, dude, you just don't understand because you're not letting yourself understand.
Yeah.
Like you
Relax,
you're
man.
you've only partied in hillbilly hills, like you've never went and experienced anything cool. Like give us a shot and we'll make it cool. Like 'cause I even remember the first time we met a couple of the other DJs. I'm gonna leave them unnamed, but they came at us like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? And like it was almost to the point where we were like ready to square up. Like, dude, first off,
Quit
we're
playing,
over here trying to have a good time, and you guys are like,
saying not to play.
like, we definitely have had a lot of controversy throughout the whole time. Like,
Probably
just,
a lot less competitive now.
yeah,
would you
because
say?
You know what me, and something that's, I think too.
we dealt a lot with no one ever wants to change. You know, like
Yeah.
if we always joked around and said, dude, if we were a fucking cover band, we'd be the most popular motherfuckers
Yeah,
in
if
this
we're-
town. Like we would own this town, but who like
But now
that's not what we were
I
even
feel like
about.
we've gotten better at being more flexible and being a little more
Oh, because we were stubborn bulls.
a little
for
stubborn
a
about
while.
it, like
Like we wanted to.
we didn't just want to play that shit off the radio 100 times the same night,
Mhm.
No, we went and seen other unnamed DJs around, and the one time, Homeboy played 7 Lil Wayne tracks in a row, and I remember I looked at Andy and I said, "You know who can play 7 Lil Wayne tracks in a row?"
Literally everybody.
No, Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne, he's the
Lil
only
Wayne should
one.
be the only one that
Literally.
plays 7.
Seven, yeah, 7 in a
You know what I
row.
mean?
So I'm
Like,
playing my.
bro,
If anybody's,
I
I'm playing
get
my
it. They
music.
were all tight tracks, but like you're not Lil Wayne, dude. Don't, because like that was one thing that we always wanted to do was like we didn't.
And I think I'm pretty sure his defense was that
generic either.
it wasn't all Lil Wayne's songs. He just happened to be in all of them.
Yeah, they were
Nah,
all.
that's you're playing all Lil Wayne songs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're gonna come and ask you for a song that's really somebody else, but Lil Wayne is on it.
Right. That's my thoughts
'Cause,
exactly.
like somebody asked me for a Lil Wayne song. It turns out they wanted a Robin Thicke song, like Shooter or something like
Yeah.
that. Play that Lil Wayne and Robin Thicke. Okay, what Lil Wayne, Robin Thicke? We're gonna get into that a little bit more when we start going with the CDs because we all existed during the people didn't know the name of the song but knew which track number it
God.
was.
Yeah.
Track number shit has always been funny. Like, oh, this CD, it was like 3, 6, 9, and 12 were my hot ones off it.
You couldn't even really remember.
Couldn't remember the name of the album,
Yeah.
but you knew
Play
3, 6,
three.
and 9,
Well,
12.
kind of right now, that's actually kind of happened to me with that Music to Be Murdered By with Eminem. Like, I know the Royce da 5'9" song that he does, I think it's like number 3. And then like 4, 5, 6, 7, like those songs, I love that group. It's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Well, it definitely probably helps they're in a row
Yes.
Right.
because
it does help that they're in a row.
Because that album, I mean, it starts out super
But
heavy.
Yeah, and like I like that Ed Sheeran and
I don't think
Eminem song.
I don't think I heard that one.
So, Music to Be Murdered by.
I gotta listen to it a little more.
It's one that. It's
Which
still
one are they playing?
relatively.
Which
it's
one
still
am I
new.
keep hearing on the radio? I like it.
Dangerous.
That's
Yeah.
the one. Yeah.
And that's the if you haven't seen the video,
Is
I
it Dangerous or
highly
Darkness?
Darkness,
Darkness, yeah.
If you haven't seen the video, I highly recommend it because then you understand the song.
All
It's
right,
about the
all right.
LA shooter.
Really?
And like no I will I'm saying this on tape. No one can tell a story like Eminem in that Darkness song and video. I know that it pissed half of the world off, but nowadays you can't do nothing without pissing somebody off.
If Marshall's not pissing
But
somebody off,
but that
yeah.
video, he put a stamp on the box. No one can tell a story like that, dude. Like the song gives me goosebumps.
I mean, he is one of the
Really?
great. He's one of the greatest at doing it. So
yeah,
yeah,
like in this one, he
got it in
tells
the
the
bag.
story, and it is just it's mind blowing.
Really?
Mind blowing as fuck, man.
Yeah, we'll have to recap that. So that was fantastic. We'll definitely do this again. The couch talk worked great for three guys, three big ugly guys.
Glad to be the first number 3 up on this.
Yeah, our first
FB3
guest.
up in this.
Yeah, I mean, it's only fitting that our first guest is part of the the creator of the group.
Yeah.
We get 689 for the
The
first official
foundation.
interview.
Oh man.
That's how you
Found
do
it.
things
I
in
did-
right order.
I did some footwork back in the day, boy.
Oh, man. We wouldn't be here right now.
Well, a lot of it too was that I've always been what I felt as a pretty good partier. Like I like to bring positive vibes, like to have a good time, and I always knew
He always had a good. He was always real good at song selection. That's what made us a good duo. I was really, really meticulous about mixing, and he had just phenomenal selection. And then I was techie, so it helped organize and teach him how to roll with the punches and stuff. When we get into gear, he'll have to come back and talk because
He's gonna have to talk about how you're a table ranger too.
oh my god.
Ranger Rick, make sure you keep your drinks away from the DJ
Oh,
equipment.
God. Well, everything happens for a reason, though, bro. Like, you don't know the nightmares we've had. Like every nightmare DJ that you can imagine, like tables flipped, laptops. We've had alcohol spilled. We've had dime piece chicks spill the alcohol on her shit. Like and that's what every rule is made for a reason. It just sucks that we had to enforce them all the time. Like,
right.
there's been a couple times
I'm
that.
with him on that. I don't want any
Oh, I know.
stuff like
I mean,
that.
Right.
like there's been so many times they like come up and they're like with their drink right over. Like, I realize you're trying to give me some drinks, but you could ruin literally everything right now.
Right.
With what we got going on. Please walk around.
So yes, please take care of the equipment. This is the party.
A lot of times too, I was really good at, because sometimes we'd be in a high pressure situation trying to get everything working. People are trying to talk to us and vibe. We're trying to be cool. A lot of times I was able to step around, and it would give Andy some time to pull off some of the techie shit, and I would like get everybody like just a way to back off. Because a lot of people don't understand what all is involved. I mean, usually we would show up to every show like 3-4 hours early. We haven't ate. We're freaking out. Haven't slept. Haven't ate. We always had something going on to where like before every show we kind of needed that 3 hours to set up and kind of
already spent all the money that we're making on like music and
I can remember so many times Andy being like, "Look, about your pay. I was thinking we could go.
We're making 200.
I was thinking,
and the photographer gets 100.
Well,
and the flyer guy gets 50.
And if we took the money you got and the money I got, and we bought these tracks, and like, of course, always I'm like,
I'm
yeah,
gonna need $12.30.
No, I was all in because I already, like. His collection was my collection too, so
well,
like
what
expanding
we do,
our
man?
collections
It was back and
always...
forth, whatever we could do to. There was no stream in it, you listen to it a little bit and then you bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Beatport, geez, we've given them some paper.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's another one too.
No, man.
All right, fellas, that was great. That's
We
a
out.
wrap.
That's a wrap.
We out.
Like
689
that.
up in this. Party fam.
Party fam. Thanks for coming, dude. Oh, that's so good, man. So good. All right.
Yeah, and I imagine throughout the weeks
We
and
are
the days
still
and the
recording.
times, we'll figure out more 689 stories to bring up.